subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
And looked at Arthur with an unhappy expression. Do it with me personally, you can't drop it either. Arthur stretched out his index finger and shook it gently, and his contemptuous attitude made Kiana instantly furious. Ship, long. His eyes narrowed, and he suddenly pounced on it with his teeth and claws. Leaping forward, a hungry wolf pounced and crushed Arthur underneath him. Captain, I've got you. Kiana smiled, very proud. No, I grabbed you. A smile slowly appeared on Arthur's lips. Kiana was slightly stunned when she heard this, and before she could react, the world suddenly swirled. The positions of the two were immediately reversed. How's it going? Who's catching whom? Looking at Kiana, Arthur suddenly showed a demonic smile. Captain, what are you going to do? Seeing Arthur's smile, Kiana suddenly had a bad premonition. What do you say I'm going to do? Naturally, I'm punishing you. Dare to do something to the captain, be conscious. As he spoke, Arthur's hand slowly moved to Kiana's waist and began to scratch. Haha, it's so itchy. It's so itchy. Captain, don't scratch it anymore. Kiana suddenly rolled back and forth on the couch, writhing like an earthworm in an attempt to escape Arthur's clutches. But how can you avoid such a small place? Ha, no, Captain, tears are coming out. Please let me go, ha. Seeing that she couldn't hide, Kiana immediately pleaded. Do you know it's wrong now? Ha. Yes, Kiana knows it's wrong. Stop it, huh? Although she didn't know what she was doing wrong, Kiana nodded again and again. That's pretty much it. Arthur stopped in satisfaction and got up from the couch. Phew. Kiana, who was out of breath with a smile, panted heavily. Because of the constant smile, the lack of oxygen makes the cheeks rosy, and the delicate appearance is very cute. After a while, finally relieved, Kiana looked at Arthur viciously. Captain, you bully me like that? As she spoke, Kiana was going to turn over as a slave and sing and get up from the oppression. But as soon as he stood up, he saw Arthur raise his hands and slowly dance his fingers, and he was frightened and retreated. Mei, the captain bullied me. You have to help me take revenge. Hurriedly ran to Mei Yi's side for comfort. All right, Kiana, let's have an orange. Looking at Kiana with an aggrieved face, Mei put the freshly peeled orange to Kiana's mouth. This orange is mine. Arthur on the side immediately protested, dissatisfied. It's Miss Ben's now, Kiana said as she took half of the orange in her mouth and nodded demonstratively to Arthur. If you have the ability to come and rob it, Captain, if you don't come, I'll eat it all. The arrogance between the words is really unbearable. Look at me taking them all. Arthur exploded his speed to the extreme at this moment, and, as if teleporting, he instantly appeared in front of Kiana. Bite the other half of the orange into your mouth. Kiana's eyes widened instantly. She didn't expect Arthur's speed to be so fast. After such a stunned effort, some of the oranges had been taken back. How could Kiana, who was so strong, admit defeat and immediately launch a counterattack? The two of you come and go, fighting with each other, so that Mei Yi on the side is really speechless. After fighting each other for several minutes, no one could help anyone, and finally the curtain ended with half of the people. Phew, I'm so tired. Arthur and Kiana both sat on the couch. Kiana, I didn't expect your mouth to be so powerful. Arthur stared at Kiana's mouth, slowly chewing on an orange with a twinkle in his eyes. Now I know how powerful Miss Ben is. Hearing Arthur praise herself, Kiana took it without saying a word. Then he sensed that something was wrong and looked at Arthur slightly. Captain, you didn't have any bad ideas just now, did you? How could it be? You think too much about Kiana. Arthur was slightly stunned and said quickly, I didn't expect Kiana to be so sharp now. Could it be that he is acting too obviously? Really, Kiana's eyes were full of suspicion. Nature is true. Don't overthink it. Arthur nodded affirmatively. It's time to eat. Just when Kiana was still suspicious of Arthur, Rita's voice came. Kiana, who was still sitting on the sofa just now, ran over in an instant, which made Arthur breathe a sigh of relief. Let's go. Let's go have a meal first. On the other side, under Mei Yi's see-through gaze, Arthur stood up in a daze. Night falls, inside Arthur's bedroom. Captain, you don't have to be so gentle. Bronya's quiet voice came from the side. Bronya knew that the captain was afraid of hurting Bronya, so he couldn't have fun every time. But no problem, Bronya can live with it. It's much better than it was at the beginning. Looking at Arthur next to her, Bronya gently hugged him. It's okay, Bronya, that's fine. Arthur reached out and brushed Bronya's hair very gently. Captain, Bronya hugged Arthur's shoulders a little tighter. Let's have a raffle before you go to bed. After the accumulation of this time, it is already possible to perform a 10 beat again. Anyway, soon, Arthur casually swiped open the system interface and clicked on the 10 link. Clusters of light flashed in front of him, and the objects that appeared made Arthur stunned. Character card, Seal Floy. Surprises always come quietly. I thought it would take 3 or 4 times before a new Valkyrie came, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. Open the Valkyrie warehouse, and the bigger surprise is yet to come. Seal Floyer S-Class. That's right, as soon as it appears, it's an S-Class. Although the current character fragments are no longer enough to stop at SS rank. They have already made Arthur happy. Isn't this the right time? After checking the properties interface, click the battle button. At the bedside, the blue light like the sea converged and condensed into a human figure. The light becomes more and more dazzling and only gradually dissipates after reaching the extreme. A pretty figure stood in front of Arthur. Snow-white skin, short black and blue shoulder-length hair, and red stigmata on the chest. He wears a white shirt with a blue waistcoat, a short dark blue and light blue skirt, and stockings with blue stripes. The slightly closed eyes slowly opened, revealing a sea-like pupil. Oh my God, Sister Bronya, Captain just opened his eyes and saw the scene in front of him, which made Sheer startled. Ciel. Bronya got up and walked over to Sile. Let's work together to serve the captain in the future. It's getting late. Let's go to bed first. Shocked and dazed, Seal was pulled over by Bronya. Chapter 1:26 The sky has turned white in the distance, bringing tranquility to the sea. Somewhere in the slow-moving Hyperion, a slight sound echoed. Puff! The rapid heartbeat is like a drum. Seal lay quietly on the bed, clasped hands in front of her chest. In his eyes, which are as blue as the sea, there is still a dullness that he has not yet reacted. The little head is full of doubts. Why did she have to lie down here and rest? The sound that came from time to time in her ears made her whole body feel like an ant crawling. I still remember being dragged by Sister Bronya. It seems like before, an indescribable picture appeared in Seal's brain. Let Sheer clasp her hands tightly, and her heart beat faster and faster. It's really useless, you. A contemptuous voice rang in Seal's head. Ciel es personnalité. Sheer has a dual personality, showing a kind, simple personality, afraid of violence, emotional, low-tier spots, weak but stubborn. Lee's personality is sick, frenzied, and violent. Completely opposite personalities are integrated into one person. Because this kind of thing, I was actually seen by Seal said as she put her hands on her cheeks, as if she was afraid to face reality. Cut, what is this? I just saw it. I didn't do anything to you. I'm so shy now. I'm really worried about you in the future. The voice in my head chattered, and I looked like I was sighing. We've been together all the time. Why do you seem to understand it very well? I haven't experienced it again. Listening to the voice in her head, Seer couldn't help but ask. The personality was born in her mind, and what they saw and heard was naturally exactly the same. But now it seems that Lee's personality seems to understand very well, which makes Sheer a little puzzled. Verbose. Lee's personality suddenly shouted and startled Sheer. Yes, I'm sorry. Apologizing seems to have become instinctive, Seal said quickly. Forgive you. A faint sentence came out of her head and made Seal breathe a sigh of relief. Is that him? Our captain. A reddish aura wafted out of Seal's body, condensing into a person who is exactly the same as Seal's beside her. There are just a few subtle differences. The clothes and pupils on his body turned red. Seal jumped to Arthur's side. Arthur was still sleeping with his eyes closed. Seal crouched beside her, watching quietly with her right hand on her cheek. Raising his left hand, he stretched out his index finger and slowly approached the tip of Arthur's nose. "Don't make a fuss. It's not good to wake up the captain." Seeing Lee's movements, Scythe hurriedly got up to stop it. "Kneel on the bed and stretch your right hand forward to stop the movement of the inner personality." However, the personality on the side suddenly showed an expression of successful conspiracy, reaching out and gently pulling on Seal's palm. Sheer, who was originally a little difficult to maintain balance, immediately threw forward with an unstable center of gravity at this moment. "Oops, hey." A slight cry came out of her mouth, and her hands waved wildly, trying to let the person in front of her help her stabilize her body. However, in Sheer's gaze, only the corners of Lee's mouth were seen, and the smile became more and more intense. Then it dissipated in front of him. Next second, boom! A dull crash was accompanied by cries of pain. The picture is directly frozen at this moment. Click! The door opened softly, and Rita walked in. "Just take a step and stop in an instant." "I'm sorry, Captain," Rita interrupted. "It's just that today's breakfast can only be eaten when it's hot. I hope you can hurry up, Captain." Rita nodded slightly, closed the door, and turned to leave. "Looks like we're going to have to add another piece of chopsticks." When I went downstairs, the mumble echoed softly around me. There wasn't much surprise in the tone. And inside the room, the two pairs of eyes stared at each other with wide eyes. After a while, "It's a good feeling, but it's time to wake up." The faint sound made Sheer wake up in an instant and jump down like an electric shock. "Yes, I'm sorry, Captain." Sheer, who was standing next to her, apologized again and again, and the person in her mind shook her head again and again. What a great opportunity. It was just wrong. "It's okay. Don't blame yourself." Arthur shook his head, signaling that Seal didn't have to care. "Sheer, didn't you sleep all night last night? Look, you've got dark circles under your eyes." Bronya stood up without hesitation, took a stride in front of Sir, and raised her hand to gently brush the faint dark circles under her eyes. "Sister Bronya, your clothes." Seal lowered her head and gently nudged Bronya. "It's okay, Sheer," Bronya said, turning her head to look at Arthur. "Captain, can you have Bronya dress you this morning?" "I don't care if you want." Arthur nodded. "Then please, Captain, stand up." "Seal, you're here to help too." The whole process, Seal is like a marionette wandering through the world, completely unaware of what she is doing. When I felt the hotter and hotter temperature in my palm, my confused vision regained my consciousness. When I saw the scene in front of me, my pupils slowly dilated. Fainted. Alas, it's really embarrassing. I really fainted. In the end, the personality in his mind sighed helplessly. Half an hour later, the three of them arrived in the living room. Everyone gave each other a brief introduction, took a seat, and started enjoying a delicious breakfast. "It's delicious." Seal's gaze shone brightly. "If you like to eat, you can eat more, and if you don't have enough, you can make more." Rita smiled and whispered, "No, that's enough." Seal shook her head and looked at the food in front of her, the tension from what had happened in the morning gradually dissipating. Chapter 127, Somewhere on the Sea. There's an unknown island here. The inaccessible island won't attract anyone's attention until one day. The arrival of a pirate ship. "Captain, look, the buildings on the island ahead are very wrong." One of the pirates on the lookout looked somewhere, as if he had seen something incredible, his eyes widening. "What's all the fuss about?" Seeing a ghostly look on his men's face, the captain took the binoculars and looked at them. As far as the eye can see, the high-rise buildings on the island are like exquisite works of art, sparkling in the sunlight. "Oh my God, what kind of building is this?" After a long time on the sea, no country's architecture can match it. Quickly turn around and drive the boat over. Discovering such a wonderful place, the wealth on it may be amazing. There was a greedy look in the captain's eyes. The pirate ship immediately changed direction and headed for the island. As the distance got closer through the telescope, the scenes on the island came into view. Aside from being amazed, these pirates don't know how to describe it, even if all of them were elated, intending to stay close to the time of landing. A voice came from the island. "Please stay away from this sea area immediately, and if you approach again, you will bear the consequences." The crisp and loud voice was transmitted mightily, but it didn't make the pirate ship hesitate. "Ha ha ha! You can't see anyone. Do you want to use such a means to let us go?" Everyone didn't care, and finally crossed the critical point set. The sound of warning came to an abrupt end. At the edge of the harbor, a flat piece of land lifted upwards, revealing a laser cannon hidden underneath. Rumble! A thick beam of laser light streaked across the sky, hitting the ship. Boom! The pirate ship was shattered by this blow and turned into dust on the sea. The laser cannons on the island sank again, and everything returned to calm as if nothing had happened. However, such calm days only lasted for a while. A caravan passed by in the distance and rediscovered the island. And so, the same thing happened again. It's just that unlike the previous pirate ship, this time, only half of the ships entered the cordon. Therefore, the caravan ships in the rear saw laser beams emanating from the island, destroying the ships that were close at hand. Everyone stared at this scene with wide eyes. It took a long time to react. Looking at the island in the distance, the beautiful appearance looks like a demon disguise. This matter gradually spread on the sea and attracted the attention of many people. So pirates and caravans came from afar, wanting to see if the island was as rumored. After the first few who were not afraid of death, at the cost of their own lives, everyone also knew how far the island would attack. The powerful firepower did not make anyone feel intimidated, but the eyes were full of blazing heat. They see great value. If nothing else, if you can get the weapons on the island, it will be enough for some pirate groups to run rampant on the sea. Driven by desire, many people have a much less fear of death. Day by day, from time to time, someone wants to challenge the bottom line. I want to be the one who can go to that island. But without exception, whether it's a devil fruit ability who can fly to the sky, or a pirate who drives a sturdy battleship, as soon as you cross the cordon, you will be immediately torn to shreds under countless shells. Blow after blow, the blindfolded person gradually regained consciousness, but it's a little reluctant to leave like this. So they all gathered around. As time passed, there were more and more ships around. There are people of all forces. Such a big movement also attracted the attention of the Navy. After the Battle of Whitewall, calm was restored to the seas, and the Navy was rarely at ease. Cyborg sat in his office and dug up all the information he had accumulated before. Strange islands, powerful weapons. Look at the folder in your hand. No matter how strange the island was, Cyborg didn't care, but the powerful weapon did touch his nerves. If such a powerful weapon were to be acquired by the pirates, it would inevitably pose a threat to their navy. And it was at this time that an urgent document was delivered to him. The sender of this document was Vegapunk. Vegapunk discovered the life blueprint, was arrested by the world government, and disbanded his original research team. This is just the news that is circulating outside. In fact, Vegapunk has been working for the world government. Now he is the #1 scientist in the Navy headquarters. Open the document sent by Vegapunk, which clearly records the power of the weapons on the island. That's a power that far surpasses the technological level of this world. And that's just a superficial discovery. If we can master that small island, we will surely make the strength of the Navy headquarters even stronger. Seeing this, the idea that made Steelbone Sora a little moved immediately became firm. It's just who will go this time? Cyborg thought for a moment and immediately decided on his goal. Such a task is especially suitable for one person. 2 hours later, a warship departed from the headquarters of the Navy. On the deck of the warship, the yellow ape sighed deeply. Alas, it's my turn to be troublesome again. The yellow ape is also clear about the rumors on that small island. So far, no one has been able to land on the island. It can be seen that its danger is not ordinary. I hope I can complete the task as soon as possible. The marshals have given orders, and no matter how reluctant the yellow ape is, it must be carried out. Time passed silently. At the edge of the island, among the numerous ships, Hyperion had slipped in without attracting anyone's attention. What's going on? Why are so many people gathered around our door? After taking a turn outside, Arthur finally remembered the base he had set up at the time. Well, Captain Chief, I'm sorry AI-chan forgot to tell you. Then a picture with Ai's commentary makes Arthur quickly understand what happened while he was away. These people don't think there's any treasure on this island, do they? What you can't get is the best. This sentence is really not wrong at all. Captain, do you need AI-chan to clean them all up? If you want to clean up all the ships around you, AI, he can do it easily. Even when Arthur was about to say yes, a warship sailed into his eyes and made him change his mind. Wait a minute, there's a good show. Chapter 128 is at the island in front of you, the legendary island. The yellow ape stood on the deck, holding a telescope in his hand, with an impatient expression on his face. There are a lot of people. His eyes swept around him, and the warship appeared in everyone's sight in such a grand manner. It's the Navy, and they're here too. The one standing on the deck is Lieutenant General Poliusolino. That's right, the current yellow ape, red emu, and green pheasant have been promoted to lieutenant generals. Although the speed of promotion was fast, no one was unconvinced. Their great strength gives them great prestige in the Navy. Even Vice Admiral Poliusolino came, and this time the Navy seemed to be inevitable. Yellow ape, a natural sparkling fruit ability. It can turn any part of its body into light, and has the speed of light, and can attack and move at the speed of light. In layman's terms, it is to run fast. This is also the reason why Steelbone Kong chose to let the yellow ape come. The island's condition is unknown, and the yellow ape's speed allows him to deal with any unexpected situation. The surrounding chatter did not move the look on the yellow ape's face in the slightest. Standing on the deck, wearing the costume of a vice admiral, and the cloak of justice behind him hunting. Tall figure, if you ignore his somewhat obscene face, it really feels a little tall and mighty. Where the warship passed, the surrounding ships avoided one after another, and some pirate ships quietly stayed away. If the yellow ape sees them and destroys them, it is a tragedy. And in the Hubelian, which was in the ship, looked at the warship in front of him. I've been promoted to lieutenant general so quickly. Slightly surprised, he said to IE, AI-chan, this man's speed is super fast. Can our defense network resist him landing on that island? Arthur was still a little worried about this. After all, the power of the sparkling fruit is not covered. Captain, don't worry. The devil fruit's characteristics AI-chan has mastered. Although ordinary bullets can't do damage to those with natural devil fruit abilities, fear of seawater is already their biggest weakness. AI is also the first time to face a natural devil fruit ability. Although he said that he didn't care, he was already serious. The captain is still watching here, and he can't be ashamed. I have some high-loose-stone bullets here. You can use them, just in case Arthur buys some bullets from a store. After all, he was facing a natural devil fruit ability, and Arthur didn't want Yi to suffer. Arthur said, with a wave of his right hand, more than a dozen boxes of high-loose-stone bullets appeared next to him, and there were several missiles made of high-loose-stone. It's a small thing, but it's expensive. Wow. Thank you, Captain. There's no need to be afraid at all. Seeing these bullets, IE instantly jumped up excitedly. But these bullets, the little face wrinkled at these bullets. I have to send these to the island. Don't worry, I'll help you solve it. Arthur naturally understood the difficulty of IE and stretched out his index finger to draw a circle in the void. A small black hole emerges, and Arthur throws all of these things into it. At the same time, inside the island, the same small black hole emerged. One by one, the boxes fell out of the black hole. The Titan mech patrolling not far away immediately sprang into action and moved the missiles to the port one after another. Everything is carried out in an orderly manner under the command of IE. And above the sea, everyone's eyes moved with the movement of the warship. Look, it's almost time for the cordon. Everyone watched nervously. So far, the cordon that no one can cross. Can the Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters break it? The slowly moving warship stopped, and one step ahead was the range of the cordon. Wait for me here, and come back soon. The yellow ape said indifferently, his body elementalized, turned into a beam of light, and rushed towards the sea opposite. The speed is so fast that 1/5 of the distance has been crossed in the blink of an eye. As a Vice Admiral, you can definitely land on the island at this time. Naturally, the devil fruit ability is really powerful. The onlookers were extremely excited, as if they were the ones who were about to land on the island. "It's easy, yo. Is the attack coming?" The body of the yellow ape galloped rapidly, looking at the oncoming radium rays, without the slightest dodge, and just met it straight. Puff puff. The radium rays passed through the elementalized body, causing no damage to the yellow ape's body. Now it's 9 out of 10, it's naturally a devil fruit, and I really want to get one. Seeing that their fearful attack did not work for the yellow ape, many people's eyes showed a look of envy. Hee hee, it's time for dinner. Ai smiled, and the bullets filled with Hylu stone immediately poured out. These bullets do not have bright beams, and are even mediocre. But when the yellow ape saw it, his eyes instantly widened. A bullet made from a sea building stone. To accomplish this, it requires ultra-high craftsmanship, and even their naval headquarters does not have much. However, what is the matter with these dense sea floor stone bullets that are like rain now? Oops. At this time, you must not be shot by Hylu stone's bullets. Once shot, the elementalization will be lifted, and when the time comes, it will fall into the sea, and that will be the real land. 8 mirrors. A mirror-like light accumulates in his hand and shines on the sea. The upward reflection of the light allowed him to complete the teleportation, narrowly avoiding the baptism of this wave of barrage. However, before the yellow ape could breathe a sigh of relief, the 2 oncoming missiles frightened him. Ordinary missiles are nothing. The key is that these materials are also seafloor stones. What kind of person can make a missile out of such a solid sea building stone? Such a thought flashed through my mind, and the 2 oncoming missiles had exploded. Countless missile fragments scattered outwards like scattered flowers, up and down, left and right, so that the yellow ape didn't even have a place to hide. Rumble. A dazzling light envelopes the entire sea. Lieutenant General Pagliusolino. Seeing the scene, those navies hurriedly shouted, but the winds from the explosion prevented them from moving forward. The cheers of love and joy were heard from within Huberion. Yes, it's Ai-chan's victory. A few minutes later, calm returned to the sea, and the yellow ape's figure had disappeared. At this moment, a ship without any signs slowly passed the cordon. Chapter 126 is banned and under review. If you cannot raise books, try not to raise them. And if you are banned, you will definitely not be original. Chapter 129 in a sea of water. The wind of the explosion raged, causing the sailing ships not far away to shake violently. Thankfully, the wind was only temporary, and it only took a few seconds to blow, but it also made the ship much more messy. Such a powerful explosive force. Even if the vice admiral faces such a powerful blow, it is impossible to retreat with his whole body. No kidding, that's Vice Admiral, a natural devil fruit ability. What is this explosion? If it's an ordinary explosion, it's naturally fine. The key is the shrapnel that scatters out, and it's made of Hylu stone. Among the many ship's onlookers, they are naturally well informed. A faint sentence has already made everyone's faces change greatly. Hylu stone is a rare, or that only exists in a certain sea area, which is equivalent to the crystallization of the sea. The composition is similar to that of the sea, and it can be said that it is a solid form of the sea, so those with devil fruit abilities are not only afraid of the sea, but also afraid of the sea stone. Moreover, Hylu stone is as hard as diamond, and ordinary means cannot destroy it. It is a weapon specially used to restrain the powerful. Lieutenant General Pagliusolino. After the explosion, no trace of the yellow ape was found, and the Navy on the warship shouted loudly, and its eyes searched around. There, Lieutenant General Pagliusolino. Suddenly, a Navy officer pointed to the sea in the distance. Through the still, turbulent sea, a vague figure can be seen gradually sinking. Lieutenant General Pagliusolino. All the navies exclaimed. In this sea, the capable ones were completely unable to exert their strength. But they were far away, and I am afraid that they would be torn to pieces by the attack from the opposite island before they could pass. They were not arrogant enough to challenge the distance that Lieutenant General Pagliusolino could not cross. Even when all the Navy looked desperate and didn't know what to do, a ship without any sign sailed out. Without any hesitation, he crossed the cordon without any scruples. Who is this, so eager to go to death? What kind of ship is this? Why is there no one on it? At a distance that even a vice admiral can't cross, there are still people who want to be in the limelight. Seeing the shadow of Hubelian's ship, there were voices of doubt and doubt around the crowd. However, everyone's impression of the shells flying around did not appear, and everything was so calm, as if nothing had happened before. How so? Is the other side running out of shells? They glanced at each other with the people next to them, and there was disbelief in their eyes. Just then, the second ship moved. It was a warship parked at the edge of the cordon. The yellow ape fell into the sea. They had to be rescued, and now that there are even more people taking the lead, how can they hesitate? All the navies moved their warships with the determination to die, and the moment they crossed the cordon, their hearts rose to their throats. However, after a few seconds, the whole sea was still calm. This scene made everyone around him go crazy. The shells on the island are running out. Let's rush together. Like a blowing horn, all the ships moved at this moment, rushing towards the island, lest they be one step too late, and soon many ships crossed the Hyperion. What do you see on the island? At the edge of the island, 3 rows of Titan mechs stood tall, reflecting the icy glow in the sunlight. Whoosh! When a ship approached the island, all the Titans immediately attacked. One shell after another slashed through, completely drowning the terrified faces of everyone on deck. Rumble! The whole sea was silent, except for the roar of the explosion. Looking at the Titan mecha standing on the edge of the island, many people couldn't help but swallow their saliva, and cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. Many of these people were traders and pirates who were not particularly powerful. The shells were still quite deterrent to them. Coupled with the picture of the vice admiral being shot down before, no one dared to act rashly. The originally high-spirited ship seemed to have been pressed the pause button and stayed on the surface of the sea. Don't dare to move forward, let alone retreat, for fear that a slight movement would lead to the baptism of cannonballs. And in these still images, Hyperion still drove forward unhurriedly. In the eyes of all, the island was landed. I actually landed on it. Incredible voices came out of his mouth. Those Dialike Titan mechs were unmoved by this. As Arthur and his party disappeared into the island, a voice rang out. 3 days later, the island was opened, and the trespassers were killed. The faint words rang in everyone's ears as if they had magical power. 3 days later, the island opened. That is, this small island has an owner. Damn, who is that man who stepped into the island? I can't see it from this distance. 3 days. Just wait another 3 days before you can set foot on that island. Arthur's words immediately got everyone talking. And on the warship at the rear, the yellow ape sat on the deck wet. There's shrapnel made of Hylu stone in many places all over the body. Lieutenant General Poliusolino, you have to go back and bandage your wounds quickly. It's a little injury, it's fine. The yellow ape shook his head, pinched a shrapnel, and pulled it off with a force, and blood immediately flowed out from the wound. My cheeks twitched because of the pain. Hylu stone is really annoying. Pulling out the shrinchnel from his body one by one, the yellow ape took a deep breath. After the explosion of the 2 missiles, shrapnel flew all over the sky, and the yellow ape, who had nothing to borrow from the sea, was also helpless at the moment. Only do your best to dodge shrapnel attacks. But he was still hit in many places on his body, and his elementalized body was instantly lifted, and he fell straight into the sea. Immersed in seawater, the whole body is even weaker. If it weren't for the Navy jumping down and saving him, it would have been tragic. At this moment, from the island, Arthur's voice was heard. For this sound, the yellow ape is very familiar. It turned out to be him, the Arthur Pirates. How could he be so unlucky? He could meet him anywhere. Now that he knew that Arthur was on the island, the yellow ape had already retreated at this moment. It's such a dangerous existence. He doesn't want to oppose it. I hope the marshal will think well about his subordinates. Despite all kinds of reluctance, the yellow ape still took out the phone bug. Escalation is still a must, and in a manor house in the center of the island. This is Arthur's private mansion, and there's a lot of technology around it, so no one can sneak into it. In one of the rooms of the manor, Arthur stepped into it and stretched. It's really good. It's not the same as when I left. Behind him, a small figure walked in, closing the door with its back to it. Hey, Seal, are you done visiting the rest of the world? Looking at Seal with his head down, Arthur was a little surprised. Yes, Captain, the rest of the city has already been visited, so Seal wants to visit the captain. A muffled voice came out of Seal's mouth, and she slowly raised her head, revealing her red pupils that were obscured by her hair. Chapter 130. Huberians stopped in the harbor, and some of Arthur's men streamed out of the hatch. Phew! The feeling of being down to earth is really not enough to experience it many times, Arthur said as he slowly moved his body, his gaze sweeping around. The streets of the island are wide and smooth, with Titan mechs patrolling back and forth and tall buildings standing next to them, uninhabited but clean as new. AI-chan, you managed it well during the time we were away. Praised the communicator, and IE immediately popped up. That's of course, with Ben's lovely conductor. The whole island is cleaned every day. IE patted her chest with a smug expression. There are hundreds of Titan mechs left on the island, and under the command of IE, they're not only responsible for patrolling, but also have the important task of cleaning. Anyway, the robot doesn't need to rest, and it works 24 hours a day to get the whole island into its current appearance. Captain, are we going to live here in the future? Kiana's eyes surveyed her surroundings, then she asked, tilting her head. It's just for a while, and we want to open up the whole continent for trade here. Arthur's return this time is not as simple as resting. Due to Doflamingo's previous publicity, it is believed that many items have gained a certain degree of popularity on the sea. When the time comes, everything will come together on this island. It is set to become the most prosperous city. If you want to do what the captain said, I'm afraid it won't take a lot of time. Rita held her chin in one hand, her eyes shining thoughtfully. It doesn't take long, we just have to get started, and then everything will be on track. Arthur already had a clear plan in mind. With Mate E, they roughly circled around the entire island, and the environment was briefly familiarized, and then the group went straight to the manor in the center of the island. In the center of the island, Arthur deliberately kept a peak, and the manor is built on this peak, isolated from the bustling city outside. The manor occupies the entire hill, so each room is spacious. Let's get acquainted with the environment of this manor, and look for your own bedroom. Okay, Captain. Everyone immediately dispersed, and Arthur walked to his room. On the other side, Seal opened the door to a room. The whole room is divided into a small living room, a bedroom, and everything is available. Wouldn't it be a little lonely to live alone in such a big room? Seal had just opened the bedroom door when a voice came to her head. I know that Sheer is the most afraid of being alone. A red aura emerged from Seal's body, condensing an identical individual in front of her. Lily looked at Sheer in front of her. A smile curled up at the corner of her mouth, and she took a step forward, lifting her chin with her index finger. Quick, let go of me. This look. Sheer didn't dare to look directly into the eyes of the inner personality and tilted her head slightly. Oh, Sheer, you're still so cute. It really makes people want to bully you well. Lee personality leaned into Sheer's ear, and the gentle words came out, making Sheer a little unbearable. Quick, let go. With a push of her hands, Lear stepped back and sat on the bed. Phew! Seeing Sheer's gentle, gasping appearance, Lee personality shook his head, stroked the white sheets, and said lightly, How many days have we been meeting the captain? But the captain doesn't seem to be very interested in you, Seal. Weak, but you can't get what you want. Lee's voice was very soft, but made Sheer's body startle. I was reminded of the scenes on the Hyperion. The captain was intimate with everyone, she just watched quietly. Although the captain also cared about her, he always felt that something was missing. Seal wanted more, but didn't dare to get closer. Maybe it's because of what Riffy said, she's too cowardly. Do you think about it? Lee personality jumped slightly and stood in front of Sayur again. The two were so close that they seemed to be able to hear each other's heartbeats. Richmond raised his hand and stroked Sayur's face. Want to take your relationship with the captain a step further? I can help you. The red eyes gradually deepened, and there was endless temptation in the voice. No, you can't. Seal shook her head. What are you holding on to now? Don't I know what is in your heart? Don't forget, That's you. The soft words came out, and the personality in front of Sheer gradually dissipated, turning into a red aura and entering her body. The slightly closed eyes opened, and the eyes that were as blue as the sea turned crimson at the moment. A smile slowly appeared on Seer's calm face, and she turned to open the door and walked out. In another room, not far from it, Arthur surveyed his surroundings. Yes, the style is what I like. Arthur was very satisfied with everything about the manor. At that moment, a figure walked in from the door open from the back. Gently closed the door. Arthur, who heard the movement, turned his head and looked at Seal with his head down. Ciel, why are you here? Have you finished touring the entire estate? Looking at Seal in front of him, Arthur was a little surprised. Yes, Captain, the entire manor has been visited, and now the only left to visit it's you, Captain. The head was lowered, and Arthur, who was red in his eyes, was startled. I hope the captain can make Seal well. Carefully, seriously visited. Seal had an inexplicable smile on her face as she pounced on Arthur with her arms outstretched. Seal, can I call you that? Holding the delicate body in his arms, Arthur said lightly. Naturally, Captain, because I'm sure. Seal looked up at Arthur, and the inexplicable expression on his face really made Arthur unable to connect with the somewhat weak Seal. The matter that Seal has two personalities, Arthur is naturally clear. Looking at the current situation, the personality is in control of this body. What's the matter, Captain? Doesn't look like you at all. At this time, a fierce ideological struggle fought in the mind. Black Arthur, don't be a man who comes to your door. Arthur White, no, no, no. It's the personality that controls this body right now. And if she does something excessive, the real Sire will cry. Black Arthur, what the real Sheer? They were all one person. Arthur White, no. Black Arthur, no, you big-headed ghost, look at the knife. In the end, Black Arthur stepped on White Arthur's corpse with a machete in his hand and laughed in the sky, winning the final victory. Captain, you're really a little dishonest. Seal took Arthur's hands as he explored the edges, her red eyes filled with mist. Do you think you want to eat the pastries that come to your mouth? Whispering softly, it was like an electric current passing through it. At this moment, an unprecedented feeling rose in the bottom of my heart. Sheer, who was immersed in this feeling, suddenly rose into the air, turning her head to see the white bed getting closer and closer to her. A feeling of fear suddenly rose in her heart. This feeling suddenly appeared for no reason, and Sire's fists clenched tightly. Gently lowered, Arthur looked at the red eyes that were flashing. You're scared. The uneasiness in his gaze, though tried his best to hide, was clearly captured by Arthur. Scener's eyes flickered, but she didn't say anything. A smile tugged at the corner of Arthur's mouth, and he slowly pinched the corner of the ribbon. Tear apart little by little. You can clearly feel Seal's breathing getting heavier. Call. A cool breeze blew, and Seal could feel the unfold in front of her. The uneasiness in his eyes became more and more intense. Do you want to continue? Arthur really didn't expect that this lead personality would be so bold at first, but when it came to actual combat, he would become cringe. In the face of Arthur's questioning, Seal still did not answer. Maybe I'm too nervous to answer now. Arthur's movements, however, were nonstop, slow. The sensation of an electric current running through her body caused the red in Sheer's pupils to disappear in an instant, and she returned to the blue color of the sea. The two pairs of eyes looked at each other, and the world seemed to be quiet at this moment. Captain, we're all done. At this moment, the door opened, and Kiana and his party walked in. On the next second, a cry large enough to pierce the eardrums came from Sire's mouth and resounded over the manor. Chapter 131 piercing screams echoed throughout the room. At the door, Kiana still kept opening the door, and the smile on her face froze a little. May and Bronya next to them didn't have much expression fluctuations, but they just looked at Arthur with brighter eyes. Standing in the middle, Rita had a faint smile on the corner of her mouth, and there was wisdom in her eyes that saw through everything. Bella on the side poked her little head out curiously, wanting to see what was happening in front of her. Captain, how can you bully Kiana pulled Arthur down with a huff, her hands on her waist, quite a tigress style. Well, I can explain this. I couldn't help but complain about my personality. Really, I ran away by myself at the critical moment, and I must teach her a good lesson next time I meet her. It's okay, Captain. It's just that the next time you use force, please plug your mouth with a cloth so that you don't scream. And by covering the mouth, any frightened sound will sound pleasant. Hey, are you the devil? Hearing Rita's suggestion, Arthur shuddered. What a dangerous woman. If the captain really wants to, May will definitely help. Bronya will also be on hand to help. A few people, you and I, listening to Arthur's head are getting bigger. If he continues to talk like this, won't his crime be convicted? It's really not what you think. Arthur patted his head speechlessly. A faint voice came from the side, and everyone's eyes looked at it in unison. Seal stood on the edge of the bed, her head down, her hands rubbing the corners of her clothes. It's all Seal's fault, and it has nothing to do with the captain. After saying that, he looked up at Arthur. I'm sorry, Captain, for the trouble. After finishing speaking, he immediately ran out with his head down. Captain, it's very irresponsible to let a girl go out alone at this time. Got it. You guys should rest for a while. Arthur immediately chased after him. In the room, seeing Arthur's figure disappear, everyone couldn't help but laugh. The captain just hurriedly explained that it was funny. Bronya has recorded it. Really? Hurry up and enjoy it again. Arthur had no idea that such a scene would happen after he left. In the garden, Seal ran all the way here. It's a shame. I wonder if the captain will hate Seal even more. The pace of running slowed down, and Seal suddenly had some trouble with it. Oh, rest assured, the captain is not such a cautious person. A somewhat sneering voice came out of his head. Why did you run away so suddenly? The rarely personality was speechless when asked by the cousin's personality. Who let the captain touch me suddenly? At this point, the voice in my head suddenly stopped. It was a really feeling, Li Ji muttered to himself in his mind, and couldn't help but think back to that time. It's like lightning spreading outward from the core, running through the whole body, crispy and numb. This experience that she had never had before was very scary for her. It turns out that you are the same as Sheer. What is the sudden feeling that comes to your heart? Sheer covered her chest with her right hand, and a smile slowly appeared on her face. All along, the strong personality sets off the appearance of weakness. But now Seal is realizing they're all the same. The same will be afraid of something. Whoever is like you, don't be sentimental. A voice of dissatisfaction came out of her head, but it made Seal laugh even more happily. Seal. Arthur only caught up from behind at this time. I'm sorry, Seer. It's all my problem. Seal, who heard the voice, turned her head and shook her head at Arthur. No, Captain, it's all Seir's fault. It's Seal who is too weak. I really want to be loved by the captain, but I don't dare to step forward. Even just now it was. Looking at Seal in front of him, Arthur suddenly felt a little different from before. But the eyes like the sea let Arthur know that it was Seal standing in front of him. If Seir had been brave just now, he wouldn't have let the captain be misunderstood by everyone. You say this, it doesn't matter, they just have a good time. Arthur didn't take this kind of thing to heart about being misunderstood, and when he returned, it was estimated that everything would return to normal. So, Captain, Seal pursed her lips and raised her head, slowly lifting her toes. The sun shone on the two of them, and they looked a little hazy. This is Seer's own consciousness. Before he could finish speaking, he turned around and ran away. Arthur stood there and shook his head at the sight of Seal's distant back. This feeling of caution is quite good. Yes, sure, I look at you differently. Seal, who wanted to escape Arthur's sight as soon as possible. The voice in her head made her escape a little faster. Say no more, and at the same time, in the sea on the periphery of the island. The ships here show no signs of decreasing. The yellow ape on the deck of the warship sat there with his head hung down, just as he guessed. After reporting the situation here, it really surprised Steelbolt. In particular, weapons made from Hyloo stone. Such a weapon, if widespread, could almost subvert the rules of the world. At that time, the deterrence of the capable will be infinitely minimized. You have to find out. So, the words of sympathy for the subordinates were not said at all. Let the yellow ape stay in place, and land on the island 3 days later to check the situation. The thought of landing on the island where Arthur was located made the yellow ape feel uncomfortable. But at this point, there is no way but to wait honestly. You see, the ship. Suddenly, a ship heading straight for the island caught everyone's attention. It's Doflamingo. There were many businessmen who recognized Doflamingo at the first time. Doflamingo now has important resources in his hands, all of which they want. But Doflamingo doesn't trade with anyone. It's even more of a strange thing. 3 days have not yet arrived, and Doflamingo wants to land on this island. Many watched with confusion as Doflamingo's ship approached the island, watching them stop in the harbor. How so? Is it true that 3 days are fake? Although many people have doubts, no one is stupid enough to put their lives to the test now. There will be a collapse aura when the Warring States armor covers, and this kind of thing will be explained later. There are banned chapters. Please be patient, and it will be dealt with as soon as possible. But the review is fast and slow. Chapter 132 Doflamingo is coming. Naturally, Arthur has already informed him in advance. By now, Doflamingo's goods had almost been sold, and it was a good time for him to come to the island and get acquainted with it. The manor on the hill was Arthur's private domain, so naturally it would not receive visitors. So the meeting place between the two is at the foot of the mountain. The entire island has a main hall and is divided into several areas for management. Although the sparrow is small, it has all kinds of organs, which is very easy to manage. At this time, in the main hall, Doflamingo was reporting on the harvest of their trip. This outing has obtained a total of 37.9 billion Bailey's wealth, of which all kinds of expensive drinks account for 60%, snacks and desserts account for 30% of them, and clothing and accessories account for 10%. From this, you can see what the people of the pirate world need. Among them, clothing and accessories accounted for the smallest proportion, and they were only sold to those noble princesses. Well, that's pretty good. Arthur nodded. In the future, the island will be open to the public, and all kinds of food and clothing or raw materials and other items will be sold. What you have to do is to manage the import and export trade, Arthur said as he pulled a list from his bosom. This records the prices of various items. Doflamingo took the list and looked at it and said with some surprise, "The price is set so low. The price set is not really low, and it is basically the same as the outside world. Of course, it's just the common items that stay consistent. The price of luxury goods like those is a bit outrageous. This kind of price is fine, and we can't just focus on those nobles, although others earn less, but the amount is enough to add up to produce qualitative changes." Hear Arthur's words. Doflamingo nodded. "Okay, I see. It's just that I'm afraid there will be a lot of people needed to open the island. Since it is to sell things, each store must be managed by someone, so the number of people needed is probably thousands. There's nothing to worry about. These Arthurs had already thought about it. With IE, a super artificial intelligence, Arthur only needs to buy some robots to deal with it. And there's no need to worry about someone doing a little trick for him. Let's go. Let's take a look at the current process." The door opened, and you could see a steady stream of Titan mechs carrying all kinds of goods outside. And in each store, robots of the same size as normal people are waiting quietly. They don't have to do anything, they just need to pay for it with one hand and deliver it with the other when someone buys something. There's no room for bargaining here. "Captain!" In the distance, Kiana ran over and stood in front of Arthur, her legs still running. "Captain, how about we build an amusement park?" Kiana's eyes sparkled with a sparkle in her eyes. "You want to have fun, don't you?" For Kiana's thoughts, Arthur saw through it at a glance. "Hee, I was found by the captain." Kiana scratched her head in embarrassment. "Well, if you want, we'll find a vacant lot and build a playground in a moment." "Captain, you're the best. I like you so much." Hearing that Arthur agreed with her, Kiana jumped up excitedly. Then he took Doflamingo around the entire island. "Everything here is fantastic and incredible. For everything on this small island, Doflamingo could only marvel at this. You should continue to familiarize yourself with the surroundings first, and when the island is truly opened, you will be busy. It's just the beginning of dealing with the world government." Doflamingo looked at Arthur's departing back, his deep gaze unbelieving what he was thinking. Dover, what are we going to do next? It was only then that Tory Bull finally spoke. Memorize all the prices above, and don't make mistakes in jokes. Doflamingo handed the object to Tory Bull, and as he walked around, he continued his visit. Time passed silently, and in the blink of an eye, it was the day before the open island. In the course of 2 days, Seal also became less shy. Occasionally, the personality would run out to tease Arthur, but every time it was time to get real, he shrank back again. Looking at the big, innocent eyes in front of him, Arthur could only stand up stupidly. It's really not a cute personality at all. In the huge living room, everyone was busy with their own things. Arthur sat on the couch, and with a stroke of the void, the system interface appeared in front of him. After this period of accumulation, it is possible to make a 10-shot combo again. Open the lottery interface and click on the 10. Clusters of light appeared in front of him, and seeing the items contained in them, Arthur's eyes flickered slightly. Character fragments, 45/50 MSR7, Godfather, if it weren't for you, character shards would have been enough. But it's an unexpected surprise. Father, and with you, this island will be even more secure. Heavenly Father has the power of a lawmaker. But before that, it's going to take a little bit of a makeover. Arthur said, lifting the communicator on his arm. AI-chan, I'm going to give you a task now. Okay, Captain. AI-chan will definitely finish it seriously. Ai's affirmative tone came from the communicator. Although Heavenly Father's level is very high, and his attack and defense are impeccable, he can't restrain those with natural devil fruit abilities. So your next task is to cover the Father's appearance with all of the Shanghai Stone. Arthur believed that with the Heavenly Father of Hailu Stone, he would be the strongest pillar of the island. In this way, even if he goes out and leaves, he can rest assured. It's okay, Captain. It's just that the Heavenly Father's consumption will be very large. AI-chan checked it just now, and the Heavenly Father who is full of energy can act for 3 hours. But if the Hailu Stone is added, the time will be reduced by half an hour. Is that only 2.5 hours? That's more than enough time. So let's get ready for it. If it is an enemy that cannot be destroyed in 2.5 hours, I am afraid that a little more time will not help. Okay, Captain. Ai nodded and immediately got ready. And above the sea, everyone waited patiently. When the distant sun pierced the darkness and the dawn shone on the earth, everyone boiled. At the same time, the Titan mechs guarding the edge of the island also departed one after another. This means that the island has officially opened to the outside world. Chapter 126 is unsealed. Chapter 133 on the sea. Countless ships poured into the island of their dreams. Alas, we're going to do it too. The yellow ape on the warship reluctantly stood up and gave the order. Be careful when you go to the island. Yes, Lieutenant General Poliusolino. The surrounding navy immediately replied solemnly. The warship followed the ship in the direction of the port, and behind these people, a man with a knife and a boat gradually appeared from a distance. There are plenty of ports on the island, which are more than enough for these ships to dock. The yellow ape disembarked from the warship and stood in the harbor looking inside the island. The rows of buildings give people a special beauty. The wide road makes it not crowded at all. Each shop has a sign indicating what it sells. It's an amazing island. The crowd poured into the island and quickly dispersed, shocked by what they saw. On this island, there is only what they can't think of, and there is nothing they can't buy. A street of food, a street of shopping, a street of bazaar. All items are precisely located, and what you want to be found in the first place. There are also signs on the side of the road, so you won't get lost even if you're setting foot on the island for the first time. Surrounded by various fragrances, the yellow ape with vigilant eyes couldn't help but be moved. I glanced around and walked to the place where I bought a barbecue. Inside the small shop, a humanoid robot skillfully flips back and forth. The various ingredients in front of you are sprinkled with spices, and the level of proficiency is breathtaking. This is a relatively high-level professional robot. Such robots have mastered skill, such as cooking, such as washing clothes, such as dancing. Naturally, its price is also more expensive than ordinary robots. I want one of this. The yellow ape points to the squid on the grill. 200 Baileys. It's really expensive, but it's good that the salary has been paid. The yellow ape obediently took out 200 Baileys and put them aside, and the robot handed over the grilled squid. Such transactions happen all the time on this island. However, as long as there are many people, all kinds of problems will always occur. Make no mistake, you want me 3,000 Bailey for a glass of broken water. In front of a drink shop, a lady pointed to the cup of blue as the starry sky in disbelief. Please pay or leave. The robot in the drink store said emotionlessly, but the lady was still unrelenting, and there were a few people around to watch the excitement. This kind of thing happens here and there around the island. For example, in a restaurant, you have to pay before you can serve food, which makes many people full of complaints. Some of the hot-tempered pirates immediately got into trouble. And among these troubles, there are also people with ulterior motives. What a bunch of stupid guys. The yellow ape saw several conflicts along the way and couldn't help but pout his lips with a look of disdain. Who gave these people the courage to challenge the authority of this small island? Cemento. I really don't know what to say. The yellow ape tasted a variety of snacks in his hand with relish, while wandering back and forth in the island. And in the manor living room in the center of the island, images are suspended in midair, and they contain various events that have taken place on the island. These guys are so unfriendly. Captain, do you need to teach them a lesson? Kiana looked angrily at the picture on the island. We don't have to do it ourselves. AI-chan, we have a way to deal with this situation. Of course. On the screen in front of him, Ai's figure appeared. This kind of thing happened on the first day we opened to the outside world, and we must take the most drastic measures. Otherwise, there will be more troubles in the future, so I'll leave it to AI-chan to solve. At the same time, the Titan mechs patrolling the streets of the island immediately moved into action and walked towards the location where the conflict occurred. Is it finally time to do something? The yellow ape muttered inexplicably, picked up a cup of cold drink next to him, and drank it all. What kind of water is this? It's so smooth. The yellow ape looked incredulously at the empty cup in front of him. Trouble for 2 more drinks. 5,000 Bailey. Tons and tons. It was so delicious. The navy next to him saw that the yellow ape asked for 1 cup after another. And in just a while, tens of thousands of Bailey were spent and couldn't help but remind in a whisper. Lieutenant General Poyasolino, Marshal Air seems to have asked us to investigate this small island. Don't you think I'm not investigating? The yellow ape continued with a serious face. Since we want to investigate the slightest, we can't let go of the slightest, and every taste of these drinks must be investigated clearly, understand? Ming, got it. The yellow ape's words made these navies dare not refute. Well, that's good. For these people's answers, the yellow ape nodded with satisfaction. And the people who were making trouble everywhere, the Titan mecha walked directly in front of them with a big hand and squeezed them in the palm of his hand. Even such a slow iron lump wants to catch me. One of them jumped in shape and rushed out in an instant. However, just coming to the street has not yet run far. So, a small missile fell from the sky. Rumble. A huge explosion rang out, and the whole street fell silent. I heard that someone was making trouble, and I wanted to show that it was solved so quickly. When Doflamingo and his party arrived, the Titan mech was cleaning up the mess on the streets. Soon, everything was back to normal, as if nothing had happened. At that moment, a voice rang out throughout the island. Welcome to Aikachan Island, which represents justice and hope, equality and freedom. What the hell is AI-chan Island? The mighty sound made the corners of Arthur's eyes jump. I'll really add drama to myself, this dead love sauce. On this island, you will no longer be a nobleman, a navy, a pirate, or a merchant, but a member of this island. On this island, no war is forbidden. The most basic rules of trade are followed, and anyone who violates the rules will be punished as they deserve, no matter what status they have and what kind of status they have outside the island. On this island, only Arthur Alexander is the only ruler. Anyone who challenges the authority of this island will have only one end, and it will be completely wiped out. The wind, full of majesty and solemnity, suddenly turned. Then please have fun on this island. The voice dissipated, and many people stood in place in a daze, digesting what AI said. Hey, you really dare to say it. Is this a blatant provocation to the domination of the world government? The yellow ape looked up and muttered to himself, dropping the dessert he had just purchased into his mouth. His eyes widened instantly. What is this? It's so delicious. Please have another one. 5,000 Bailey. Chapter 134, Headquarters of the Navy. What do you say? There is no threat to this island. Lieutenant General Poliucelino, have you done a good investigation? In the marshal's office, some angry voices echoed around Steelbone. Marshal Sora, I'm really investigating it very seriously. Chewing sounds, but now this island is just a commercial island. Sucking sound, although there are a lot of weird things on this island, such as robots and lethal weapons. Please ask for another one. Oh, that last sentence wasn't for you, Marshal Sora. Listening to the various voices coming from the phone bug, the green tendons on the empty forehead of the steel bones jumped and jumped. Lieutenant General Poliucelino, what are you doing now? The extremely suppressed anger made Steele's tone seem a little gentle. Naturally, I'm carrying out your orders to investigate all the going on this island. The yellow ape replied without blushing and panting. That's really hard work. Come back now. Steelbones felt that there was no reason for the yellow ape to investigate like this, so it would be better to send someone over again. Alas, don't be Marshal Kong. My investigation is at a critical moment. Wouldn't it be a waste of all my work to leave now? In a restaurant, the yellow ape looked at the table full of glittering food with a deep sense of reluctance and regret. Then you'd better give me a useful piece of information now, or you'll be back at once. Okay. In order to be able to stay here for a while longer, the yellow ape's tone became a little serious. Marshal Kong, although this island is not very large, the variety of items sold on it is so rich that I am afraid that anyone who looks at it will be dumbfounded. On this island, almost all the treasured objects of the East Sea, the South Sea, the West Sea, the North Sea, the first half of the Great Voyage, and the New World are gathered. For example, precious ores, precious raw materials, rare metals, etc., and the price is not much different from the local. In addition, there are many innumerable things, food, and clothing. You can say that you can get everything you want on this island. The yellow ape's voice echoed through the room, and the face of the Steelbone was full of incredulity. Everything in the whole sea can be bought on that island, and if this is true, the ripple effect is huge. Imagine the long journey it takes for ore, which was originally only produced in the North Sea, to be transported around the world. And now it can be purchased directly in New World. The difference in the price that is omitted is a huge profit. And that's not all. Cyborg couldn't imagine how the existence of that island would change the sea. Lieutenant General Poliucelino, do you have any clues about the weapons made by Halushi? No. Don't look at the yellow ape has been playing on the island, but he has not fallen behind in the right thing to do. Was shot down into the sea by a weapon made by Hailu Stone, and this incident has not been forgotten. Therefore, the situation of Hailu Stone weapons has been paid attention to on the island. But it's a pity that on the island, not to mention the weapons made by Hailu Stone, even ordinary weapons are not sold. Maybe there's only one place to get a clue, but the mountain in the center of the island came to the yellow ape's mind. The mountain is surrounded by a symbolic fence that clearly states that entry is forbidden. The yellow ape guessed that there must be some ulterior secret on that high mountain, but he didn't risk it. Where? Hearing the Steelbone empty question, the yellow ape sighed. Marshal Kong, if we break into that place, the consequences will be unbearable. You mean the Arthur pirates? Yes, the Arthur pirates have clearly come to the island, but there is no trace of them, so their real location must be a place where outsiders must not set foot. When Cyborg knew that the island was also related to the Arthur pirates, he was really shocked. The mystery and strength of the Arthur pirates shocked him again. All right, Marshal Sora, I still have important tasks to do here, so I'll hang up first. The yellow ape didn't wait for the Steelbones to speak, and hung up the phone directly. I can finally enjoy these delicious foods in peace. Looking at the table of fragrant food, the yellow ape immediately started moving, and at the same time in the chamber. Mihawk, I really didn't expect you to come to this island. In the council hall, in addition to Arthur, there was Doflamingo and his party. Hawkeye Mihawk has challenged all kinds of strong people across the sea, and so far, he has not been defeated. For my hawk, Doflamingo also knows something. This is a powerful existence. It's a thing of the past. My hawk shook his head and looked at Arthur in front of him. I heard that you were on this island, so I came here, but I didn't expect you to be the owner of this place. My hawk still remembers the meeting that day. What are your plans for after that? Do you want to continue to swim in the sea and challenge the best of the best? Seeing my hawk again, Arthur wants him to work for him. After all, this is the future great swordsman. Isn't the strongest in the world standing in front of me right now? Since my hawk came to Arthur, he naturally had his own ideas. But you have to take care of the wine. Ha ha. Please rest assured at this point, there is no problem for you to drink it as water. In this way, the island has one more person to sit here, Joracol my hawk, and at the same time, in Mary Joa. It is revered as a holy place and the headquarters of the world government. In a brightly lit room, there are only 5 people. They are the people in charge of the current world government, known as the 5 Old Stars. Nowadays, there are more and more forces that are not under the control of the government, and we have to make a decision. But I'm afraid those navies will resist such things. The Navy is only working for the world government, and there is no need to consider their opinions. But in order to prevent the new forces from getting out of control, it is necessary to limit their number to a maximum of 7. So let's name this new organization now. Your Majesty's 7 Marshalseas. The prototype of a force that stood shoulder to shoulder with the Navy headquarters was thus completed in a few words. His Majesty Kiwu Hai is a sea thief recognized by the world government, with disastrous destructive power and a huge combat power comparable to that of the state. Pirates recognized by the world government have special rights and qualifications, but to become the King's 7 Marshalseas, it is necessary to deter ordinary pirates. And it can be said that the relationship with the world government is mutually beneficial and uses each other. Chapter 135, what? Choose a powerful pirate to become the king of the 7 Marshalseas. And these pirates will be protected by the world government. The previous crimes are written off. In the conference room of the Navy headquarters, when the news of the Cyborg Sky General was announced, Sengoku, who was the admiral, instantly stood up. The moment they became a navy, all the pirates in the world were already called the targets of the crusade. Now he is told that he wants to be a colleague with the pirates. How could the warring states agree to such a thing? Not only Sengoku, but the faces of others are more or less ugly. Being able to become a top brass in the Navy is naturally beyond doubt about the justice it upholds. And now, this justice is ironic. This is a directive that has just been given by the world government. Steelbone hollow sighed in his heart. He naturally understood how big the impact of this incident would be on the Navy. It can be said that the justice carried out by the Navy has been completely trampled. This matter is not negotiable. I will not agree. This is the first time that Sengoku has raised such an objection to the Steelbone heir. It's an interesting arrangement to let the pirates manage the pirates. Carp sat in his chair with his fists folded over his chest, and his tone was also very bad. This matter is not discussed with you, but a notice issued by the world government. Notice, that is, the matter has been determined. In the final analysis, their navy is just a department of the world government, and the notices issued are not negotiable at all. What the hell is the world government thinking? How could such a ridiculous decision be made? Sengoku punched the table in front of him, and then sat down decadently. At this point, there is nothing they can do to change anything. I know that this matter will take a while for everyone to digest, but His Majesty the 7 Marshalseas have already been put on the agenda, and we must carry it out. Let's adjourn. That's all for today. After speaking, the Steelbones took the lead in leaving the conference room, and the others glanced at each other, only to leave a helpless sigh. The decision of the world government is really irresistible. That's how powerful power is. It's been a few days since Arthur's Island opened to the public, and everything is thriving in an orderly manner. Except for those who started out as troublemakers and had ulterior motives, there were very few conflicts within the island. But it is only a small occurrence, and this kind of thing cannot be completely eliminated at present. There are all kinds of people who come to the island, and it is inevitable that there will be grudges between people. When the enemy sees the outside, his eyes are red. For this kind of thing, The method that AI-chan performs is also very simple. Beat it up and throw it into the sea. If there's something the Titan mech can't deal with, it's Doflamingo and Hawkeye Mihawk's turn to strike. Although these two people are not the strongest on the sea, they're also at the upper middle level, which is enough to cope with the general situation. In addition to this, there are a lot of defenses within the island. Moreover, during this time, the Heavenly Father's whole body has been covered by the Hylu stone. On this sea, there are probably only a few people who can fight against it. Inside the living room of a private villa on top of a hill, dozens of light curtains in front of Arthur showed the various conditions on the island. So far, it's not bad. I've done a couple of deals. It seems that the day of counting money is coming. Now, every moment this island is creating wealth for Arthur. This is only the preliminary stage, and as time goes on, it is believed that it will not be long before the rich country becomes a reality. Captain, do you need tea? Next to him, Seal came over with tea and put it in front of Arthur. Is this what you soaked? Picking up the teacup and taking a sip, Arthur looked at Seal, who was standing next to him. Sister Rita taught Sir to soak it. Isn't it to the captain's taste? No, it's delicious. Under Seal's somewhat worried gaze, Arthur smiled and shook the teacup in his hand slightly. Still, Seal, you don't have to learn Rita to make tea. Everyone's way of making tea is different, and the taste will be different. Learning Rita's way of making tea will only obscure what you're trying to say. Just like Kiana, although the tea brewed poisoned the flowers, I deeply understand the strong love in it, and it hurts my heart, and I will never forget it in this life. Arthur said as if he remembered some terrifying picture, and he couldn't help but shiver. What, Captain, you're so careful. It's been so long, and you still remember. Kiana's disgruntled mutters came over, causing everyone to chuckle uncontrollably. Yes, Captain, Seal remembers. Next time she will wholeheartedly make tea in her own way. Good. Arthur nodded in encouragement. The day passed quietly and uneventfully. After dinner, Arthur sat on the couch behind the huge floor-to-ceiling windows and watched the sunset. He scanned the remaining items in the warehouse. Kojima has a lot of shipments every day, so it is natural that it needs to replenish the goods. As a result, Arthur built several large warehouses. When only about 20% of the items remain, they will be restocked. The method of replenishment is also very simple. Arthur only needs to buy in the shop and use the power of space to teleport over. After this period of practice, I have become more and more proficient. Doflamingo, all they know is that when they are missing, they will all be filled up the next day. Although they felt a little inexplicable and surprised, they didn't dare to ask more. It's okay, let's resupply in 2 days. After a glance, Arthur casually opened the system interface. There are only 5 character shards left to be promoted. Even if you don't have to wait for 10 companies, it's completely enough, not to mention that there are already ones. Earn a total of 25 character shards in a 10-shot combo. Open the Valkyrie warehouse and find Sierra. Character fragments, 70/50ths, upgradable. Without hesitation, just click on promotion. Then I check the character information. In addition to the Phantom Sea Dream Butterfly, Sheener's form has an additional twin on the other side. At the same time, not far away, Shear's left eye, which was as blue as the sea, appeared a red light. The consciousness of the outer personality and the inner personality appear at the same time at this moment. Late at night, quietly, a small figure opened the door and stepped out, glanced around, and walked briskly towards her destination. The door is unlocked and can be opened easily. Entering the room, his blue and red eyes looked at the darkness and nothingness around him. Walked through the living room and into the bedroom. Looking at the lying figure, his eyes narrowed slightly, and the corners of his mouth hooked up a smile. That night, Arthur seemed to have a dream. I dreamed that I couldn't move my whole body, and a small snake gradually crawled up from his feet. No, or rather, 2 small snakes. Suddenly one, suddenly 2 is more precise. The snake, as a cryogenic animal, was so cold that Arthur woke up. But as if under a spell, his whole body could neither move nor shout. I could only let the little snake slowly wrap around its feet and climb up, leaving a faint mark along the way, coiled on Arthur's chest. snow-like skin, petite, holy and lovely in the moonlight. However, such a cute appearance slowly showed sharp teeth and bit on Arthur's shoulder. The little head was raised again, and a pair of different eyes surprised Arthur slightly. Whose consciousness is dominating this body? Or together? The question was not answered, and the little snake swallowed the letter with a look like a prey in his eyes. "Now you're mine, Captain." A soft murmur sounded in his ears, and Arthur saw the little snake's body gradually grow larger, wrapping him tightly. Harder and harder, as if to clip him off. In this regard, Arthur naturally will not sit still and slowly exert the strength of his whole body to break free from the restraints. However, this force is much stronger than expected, and it can only break free little by little. It took nearly a minute before there was finally a sign of breaking free. However, the body of the little snake suddenly wrapped around in a circle. The gap that had just broken free was once again tightly filled. It's amazing. Bronya's is nothing more than that, and I'm not going to give up. The restraining force around him became stronger and stronger, and Arthur's face turned red because of the excessive force. "Open it for me." In an instant, he burst out with all his strength and finally broke free from the entanglement of the little snake. Seeing that the little snake in front of him still had a tendency to attack, Arthur also put on a fighting posture. In the next second, the battle between the two began. The strength of the white snake's combat power shocked Arthur. But the magic is 1 foot high, and the road is 1 foot high. Vajra subdues the demon. Arthur let out a loud shout, and the first round came to an end for the time being. Chapter 136. In the early morning. The morning light pierces the sky and illuminates the earth. The entire island is lit up and is bustling even at night. At this time, the sun is rising, and more people are pouring into the streets. It is worth mentioning that on this small island, Arthur only opened a hotel and did not sell houses. He wants to take everything on the island into his own hands. At the start of the day, everything comes alive, and the room is brightened up by the cool sunlight shining through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. Feeling the slightly undulating weight on his body, Arthur slowly opened his eyes. The face that was close at hand, some messy hair covered half of the face. Some reluctantly raised their right hands and rearranged their messy hair. "Are you awake?" Arthur found that his eyes, which were covered by his hair, were actually open. The blue and red eyes made Sheer feel strange. It's no longer as soft and weak as it seems. "Yes, Captain. Seal has actually been awake for a while. It's just that the feeling of lying on my stomach is very comfortable, so I haven't moved." The big eyes slowly narrowed into a slit, and the little face was filled with a faint smile. The body moved slightly and changed to a comfortable position. It seemed that Sheer was slightly stunned when she ran into something and then laughed. "Captain, you're still so energetic early in the morning." After speaking, the corners of his mouth hooked into a smile. "Well, I'm sure it's a little more subjective now." Arthur took a deep breath and had already made his judgment. If it were Sheer's own will, it would never have been possible to do such a thing. "Oh, hey, Captain, are you up?" With a shout, the door was slammed open, and Kiana ran over. It seemed that he was in a good mood, and he came to Arthur in a few steps, grabbed the quilt with both hands, and lifted up, much to Arthur's surprise. "No, what?" I did not listen to Arthur's obstruction and opened it directly. Space freezes in this moment. After a second, he slammed it down. It must have been opened in the wrong way. Kiana muttered to herself, slowly opening it again. "Kiana, morning." As before, Seal looked up and greeted Kiana with a smile. "Hey, Hope. Seal, what are you doing?" Looking at Sheer in front of her, whose eyes had all turned red, Kiana's trembling speech was a little unpleasant. "Sheer is a little thirsty. You want to get some drink? Kiana, do you want it too? I can give you a little bit." Seeing Sheer, who was almost 2 people before, Kiana clenched her fists tightly, and the momentum on her body gradually churned. "Captain, what the hell did you do to Sir? How did you come be like this?" Kiana looked at Arthur, sitting there with murderous eyes. I didn't do anything, okay?" Arthur spread his hands very innocently. "I don't believe you. I'm going to tell Bronya. Just say that you bullied Seer After speaking, he threw the quilt in his hand directly and ran out in a huff. A few minutes later, Kiana returned with Bronya and the others in a menacing manner. The scene in front of him made his eyes widen. "How's it going, sir? Is your shoulders still sore? Would you like to drink some tea to moisten your throat? Still hungry? Do I need some snack for you?" I saw Seal sitting on the stool, and Arthur was busy with a posture of careful service. "It's early today. Why are you here too?" Looking at Kiana and his party in front of him, Arthur seemed to be surprised. Mate E. Bronya, their eyes slowly shifted to Kiana. "It's not like that. They were before." Kiana was so anxious that she jumped to her feet, but the scene in front of him made him not know how to explain it. "Sheer, did the captain bully you just now? Forced you to do that? That kind of thing? Don't worry about speaking boldly. My sister will make the decision for you." Kiana stomped her foot hard and came to Seal's side, looking like she was in charge of the people. "No, I don't." Seal shook her head. "The captain is so kind to Sheer. How can he force Sheer to do something he doesn't want to do?" "Sister Kiana, did you have any misunderstanding?" Seal looked at Kiana with deep doubt in her red eyes. "Oh, by the way, Sister Kiana, I just said that I would give you a little. This is what Sheer has left. I hope you don't dislike it. Drinking a glass of milk in the morning is good for your skin." Looking at the milk in the cup in Sheer's hand, Kiana hurriedly stepped back, waving her hands back and forth. "It's this. Miss Ben doesn't need this kind of thing." Okay, it seems that it was just a misunderstanding. Let's get ready for breakfast." At this time, Rita ran out to play the round and came to Seal with a smile. He took the cup that Seal was about to hand to Kiana. "Shake it lightly and slowly bring it to your mouth." "Rito." Kiana, who was behind her, widened her eyes and called softly, "It's okay, it's just a glass of milk." Rita smiled, slowly tilted her head and drank it down, and later licked the residue on her lips. "Well, it tastes pretty good, and it would be nice to be able to add some sugar." After saying that, he turned around and walked out of the room with his waist twisted. "Captain, we're waiting for you below." He pulled Kiana, who was still a little unrelenting, and walked out. Soon, the room was once again left with Arthur and Hill. "Captain, the milk has been drunk by Rita. Obviously, Shearer hasn't drunk it yet. Please have another cup. This time add some sugar." Pitifully raised the empty bottle in her hand, and Shearer looked aggrieved. "Let's not talk about this for now. In fact, there has always been a question. Why did you come out?" Looking at the pair of red eyes in front of him, Arthur asked. "I still remember that at the beginning, it was obviously one blue and one red, but now it is all red, which means that it is now this body is all controlled by the inner personality." "You mean that coward? I'm too shy to come out." "Recently, let Sheer accompany the captain well." Seal stood up as she spoke, stretching slowly. There was a rich smile on his face with a slight tilt of his little head. Chapter 137. "Humph, Captain, you're a big liar." As if mistaking the food in front of her for Arthur, Kiana's chopsticks poked fiercely. The grumbling that came out of his mouth from time to time made Arthur's expression a little scornful. It seems that she has gone a little too far in the morning, and Kiana still hasn't lost her breath. Breakfast was spent peacefully under Kiana's resentful gaze. It was a bit of a thrilling morning. After breakfast, Arthur sat down on the couch as usual. In less than 2 seconds, Seal approached like a kitten. Holding Arthur's right arm, he tilted his head slightly, and the red pupils corresponding to his fair cheeks were particularly bewitching. "Captain, it's going to be lonely if you're alone," Seal said as she arched her little head into her arms. "Miss Ben is going to duel with the two of you." In the distance, Kiana let out a loud shout and rushed towards Arthur. Hey, Kiana, it's a foul to hit someone with the ball." Arthur stood up and stopped Kiana with one hand. Captain, you're a big liar." Kiana turned her head to the side, looking angry. Okay, it's okay for me to do this in the morning, right?" Arthur shook his head speechlessly. "Isn't it just a little teasing, and it's still so obsessed?" "So, Captain, did you admit to bullying?" Suddenly, Kiana looked at Arthur excitedly, and her big eyes seemed to be full of anticipation. "Forehead, were you excited about?" Although he felt a little inexplicable about Kiana's brain circuit, Arthur nodded in order to end the matter as soon as possible. "Did you see it? It was the captain who admitted that he had bullied Seal in the morning, and it wasn't Miss Ben who was lying. Seeing Arthur nodding, Kiana immediately turned around and shouted loudly at everyone. Yes, yes, miss, let's eat some fruit. Mei smiled and walked over with a fruit platter. Mei, are you doubting my words? Why? Kiana. Mei trusts Kiana very much. Placing the plate in her hand on the table, Mei patted Kiana on the head. But you don't take it seriously at all. Kiana frowned, thoughtful. Okay, don't think about this kind of thing. Let's eat a mango. Pick up the sliced mango and put it to Kiana's mouth. The food was all delivered in front of her. How could Kiana let it go? Our puzzled eyes instantly brightened. It's delicious. It seems to be a little different from ordinary mangoes. Kiana's eyes sparkled at the sight of the fruit platter on the table. If you like to eat a little more. There are plenty of them in the kitchen. Don't worry, I'll wipe them all out, Kiana assured with a serious face. Captain, Bronya misses you too. Seeing that this matter had finally come to an end, Arthur was relieved. He and May glanced at each other and smiled. Everything was silent. As a result, as soon as he sat down, Bronya on the other side also posted it. Well, now it's really a hug of the left and the right. AI-chan, play the current situation on the island. Okay, Captain. The words fell, and a curtain of light appeared in front of Arthur. On the road, the crowd is endless. As time went on, the island's fame grew. Jean Arthur had to limit the number of people who could enter the island each day. That is, once a certain number is reached, the island will no longer be accessible to anyone. Images flashed in front of him, until he saw a group of people in the crowd, which made Arthur's eyes freeze slightly. I didn't expect him to come. Half an hour ago, in a sea of water, a huge sailing ship sailed forward. The name of the sailing ship is the Moby Dick, and the pirate flag fluttering above proves the identity of the ship, the Whitebeard Pirates. Is a group of pirates created by Edward Newgate, Whitebeard. Whitebeard did not have a fixed territory, and a sailing ship roamed the sea. After this time, in addition to the main ship, the Whitebeard pirates also had more than a dozen other pirate ships. The captain of each ship is a well-known figure in the New World. However, these pirates themselves are not affiliated with the Whitebeard pirates and usually operate separately. They all adore Edward Newgate and will call him Daddy, and whenever Whitebeard has trouble, the captain will lead a group of pirates to help. On the deck, there were many figures, and Whitebeard sat on a wide chair, like a high mountain, towering and unshakable. Daddy, we're about to get to that island. Marco walked over from the side, his eyes puzzled. Daddy, is it necessary for you to make such a trip yourself? It's a good wine, but let's buy it. As he got closer to the island, Marco noticed that the aura on Whitebeard's body fluctuated. It seems that there is something on the island that makes their father care. Go la la la. Whitebeard looked up to the sky and laughed, looking at the islands that gradually emerged in the distance. By the way, visit an old friend. How long has it been since we met? The voice gradually deepened, as if with a look of nostalgia. As you get closer to the island, so do the boats around. The massive hull of the Moby Dick is like the stars and the moon, and it passes like the king of the world. Oh my God, it's the Whitebeard pirates. Seeing the pirate flag fluttering in midair, everyone couldn't help but suffocate slightly. The Whitebeard pirates, the famous pirates of the New World. I even came here. Following the direction of the Whitebeard pirates, they landed on the island in the distance. Everyone's eyes lit up with anticipation, expecting destruction. To be honest, the island's prosperity has turned many people's eyes on the back. However, with their strength, they simply could not challenge the order of that island. But if it's the Whitebeard pirates, many of the ships that wanted to leave immediately turned around and followed the Whitebeard pirates back. Hey, I'm not mistaken, right? It's amazing. It's Edward Newgate. Among the many ships that returned, one warship immediately stopped. The yellow ape on the deck looked at the Moby Dick docked in the harbor and snorted. Let's go and join in the fun, turn the rudder, and go back. And so, an interesting scene happened at the edge of the port. Many of the ships that were about to leave returned again, and for a time the entire harbor was completely occupied. Is this the island it was rumored to be? Whitebeard walked out of the harbor, stood at the end of the street, glanced around, and strode into it. Chapter 138, Walking Out of the Port. A straight road leads straight ahead. This wide avenue is the main road for the entire island, and all other categories spread to both sides. Countless people come and go on the road, going in and out of various shops to buy what they need. Suddenly, people find a huge shadow hanging over them. Looking up, more than a dozen people stood at the end of the road like a mountain peak. The tall and burly white-bearded man was like a giant, standing tall with Song Yun-che in his hand. Next to it, there are more than a dozen people such as Marco the Immortal Bird, Diamond Jaws, Thatch, and Foil Bista. Although the momentum carried by each person did not deliberately explode, it flowed outward like the sea, especially those closest to them. As if it was the prey of a fierce tiger, it stood there trembling, but could not move a single inch because of fear. Glancing around, Whitebeard walked forward. Others followed, like a sharp sword piercing a torrent. Everywhere they went, everyone got out of the way. It's really lively here. Marco couldn't help but scratch his nose when he saw the scene around him. Before they came, they had only heard of how peculiar the island was, with many rare objects on it. But they didn't expect it to be more prosperous than they imagined. And the building was shining, as if there was a strange energy flowing. Above the tall buildings on both sides, a faint brilliance flashed from time to time. These are naturally no ordinary buildings. Anything on this island has some defense. Once it's all turned on, even if you bomb it, you won't be able to break it for a while. After all, many people are more or less violent, and it's okay to be too fragile. If it is said by others to touch porcelain, then Arthur's reputation will be ruined. Daddy, things are pretty good here. Why don't we divide this island into our sphere of influence? Diamond Jaws didn't know when he bought a whole bunch of things in his hands and ate them with relish. The Whitebeard pirates, they naturally disdain to do those things that burn and loot. The job is to protect the peace of the island from pirates. Correspondingly, the islands will pay a conservation fee. This is the economic source of the Whitebeard pirates. Don't say that again. Whitebeard's heavy voice made Diamond Jaws stun slightly. Oh, good old man. Such a serious tone is rarely seen on Whitebeard, and Diamond Jaws nodded obediently. I've heard that someone wants to divide this little island of mine into their sphere of influence. I can't take that as if I didn't hear it. A faint voice echoed around him, and the crowd ahead of him got out of the way. Arthur and his party walked out slowly, seeing the arrival of the Whitebeard pirates. How could Arthur not come down to say hello? Whitebeard. It's Whitebeard. At this time, Doflamingo and Myhawk also appeared, but like the yellow ape, they just stood on the side of the road and watched quietly. The Arthur pirates, it's been a long time. Whitebeard looked at the group of people standing in front of him, a few more than the last time they met. Having lived through the Locks era, Whitebeard knew very well that these people were not as weak as they appeared on the surface. It turned out to be the Arthur pirates. Marco looked at Arthur, who was standing in front of him, and there was a look of surprise in his eyes. Before coming to the island, he didn't know that the owner of the island was Arthur. Diamond Jaw's tough face also underwent some changes. No wonder Daddy stopped his behavior just now. Arthur, the man with a bounty of 5 billion, is unimaginably powerful, and he just wanted to divide Arthur's territory under the banner of their Whitebeard pirates. It's a bit arrogant. Let's talk about it for now. Arthur's eyes were fixed on Diamond Jaws, and his purpose was self-evident. The atmosphere around him instantly became tense. The people watching the play next to him didn't blink their eyes for fear of missing it. Do you want to do something to the Whitebeard pirates? This is a very beneficial thing for our navy. The yellow ape disappeared in the crowd, quietly watching the scene in front of him. What are you going to do? Seeing Arthur getting closer, Marco took a step forward, half of his body gradually covered in dark blue flames. Bird fruit, phantom bee species, undead bird form. This is the power of Marco Devil Fruit. Hee hee, do you want to fight? Mispin accompanies you. Kiana behind her took a step forward, already in a fighting posture. Behind him, Mate E, Rita, Bronya, Seal, and Bella also made their own moves. And the rest of the Whitebeard pirates are also in front of their father. The aura of confrontation was intense to the extreme. It seems that it only takes an introduction to break out today's shocking war. I hope you can think about the price of my attack. Facing everyone in the Whitebeard pirates, Arthur didn't stop. Kiana, don't worry. I'll be enough to deal with these people. One arrogant tone. Although many people know that Arthur is strong, but he wasn't up against a third-rate pirate group. It's the Whitebeard pirates who are rampant in the New World. The combat power of each member of the Whitebeard pirates is not to be underestimated. But can one person defeat them all? The crowd of onlookers looked at them with suspicion. AI-chan, the defense of this area is on, and I don't want to damage this beautiful city. AI-chan received it. The defense has been opened, so please also ask the captain to be merciful. As soon as Ai's words fell, a layer of light diffused from the ground and the buildings on both sides. The faint brilliance was enough to withstand a considerable impact. Step by step, he slowly approached the Whitebeard pirates, and his body did not exude any terrifying momentum. But everyone, including Whitebeard, felt an inexplicable pressure. Whitebeard didn't say anything from beginning to end, and he also wanted to feel how far Arthur had come at this moment. The gap between him and Arthur. Very well, I admire your courage. So, 100 times the gravity. Seeing that everyone in the Whitebeard pirates did not retreat, the corners of Arthur's mouth hooked up a smile, raised his hand slightly, and passed out faint words. The others didn't feel anything, but the entire Whitebeard pirates felt as if a mountain was pressing down on them. The strong gravity made their muscles tense all over their bodies. Oh, it's not bad. I'm getting more and more interested in how far you can go. The human constitution here is not as strong as it is, but Arthur is interested in exploring it. 200 times gravity. Around the Whitebeard pirates, the space was slightly distorted. The gravity suddenly doubled, as if it had been struck directly on the back by a hammer. There are already a few people who are almost physically unstable on their feet. A faint chuckle sounded like a demon's whisper. 1,000 times gravity. Rumble. Under 1,000 times the gravity, bursts of sound exploded, and all the weaker physique of the Whitebeard pirates lay on ground. What a powerful force is this? Marco was half kneeling, the flames on his body becoming a little squeezed by gravity. I tried my best to get up, but I did my best if I didn't insist on falling. Old, Daddy. Marco's gaze struggled to the side. Whitebeard was like an optimist pillar, as if gravity around him had no effect on him. Under the terrifying gravity of diamond jaws, a layer of diamonds gradually appeared on the surface of his body, and he slowly stood up. Everyone else can stand. You better lie down. Looking at Jaws, who was slowly trying to stand up, Arthur stretched out his index finger and waved it down. Boom! The invisible force only acted on Jaws, and the whole person hit the ground without any resistance. Click, click! Suddenly, the light flashing on the ground reached the extreme, but it still did not resist the terrifying impact. Cracks emerged. Boom! In the end, it suddenly exploded. Boom, boom. Without the protection of the defensive shield, the ground in this area instantly sank under the pressure of gravity. Diamond Jaws, in particular, was like a meteorite hitting the ground, forming a huge crater. It is said that you should be merciful, and you must know that the last person who repairs the road is cute. Ai's dissatisfied voice came from the communicator. Chapter 139, the road, is wide enough to accommodate dozens of people walking side by side. However, at this moment, somewhere on the road, countless people gathered to watch, so that the whole road is no longer smooth. In the distance, more people gathered. What's going on up ahead? I heard that the Whitebeard pirates came to this island and clashed with their master. What happened in the end? I don't know, I can't squeeze in. At the outermost end, a chaotic voice rang out. Many people wanted to squeeze in front of them to find out, but the crowd was surrounded by walls that prevented them from moving forward. And in the middle of the crowd, everyone stared at the scene in front of them with wide eyes. It's as strong as ever. Doflamingo looked at Arthur's figure, and his eyes no longer had the original desire to transcend. When you are also human, there may be the possibility of pursuing. However, if you are facing the gods, there is only awe in your heart. Arthur is now a godlike presence in Doflamingo's heart, and the opposite is the hawk-eyed Mihawk next to him. The eagle-sharp eyes churned with battle intent. Now, with such a mountain waiting for him to surpass, how can he not be excited? The whole body was almost trembling with excitement, and every cell was jumping for joy, letting out a silent cry. Surpass him, surpass him, surpass him. I advise you to die of this heart. Hawkeye's performance was too obvious, and soon Doflamingo next to him noticed the abnormality and said lightly with disdain, "Although the two see each other every day, their relationship is not very good. Neither of them is the kind of person who will take the initiative to greet others, and it is already very rare to be able to be safe and secure with each other. I naturally know that Arthur is very strong, so strong that with my current strength, I am afraid that I can't even get close to him, but this is definitely not a reason for me to give up. Only the strong have the value to surpass me." Looking at Hawkeye's serious words, the corners of Doflamingo's mouth hooked into a smile. "Then I'll wish you the best of luck." The two of them didn't say much and looked ahead at the same time. Opposite Arthur, the dust was filled, and the sound of a yee's complaining was still echoing around him. In the dust, a tall figure emerged. Whitebeard Edward Newgate. As at the beginning, his tall figure stood tall, as if 1,000 times the force of gravity had no effect on him. It's worthy of Whitebeard, and he's safe and sound under such a powerful force. The yellow ape in the crowd looked at Whitebeard, his eyes full of solemnity. This is a very formidable enemy. At the same time, I was thinking about how to deal with such an attack. Speed is his greatest advantage. As long as he senses the slightest wrong, he runs away in an instant, believing that the speed of gravity is not as fast as his. Yellow Ape nodded as he thought. The dust in the middle of the road gradually dissipated, and behind Whitebeard, a huge pit appeared in front of everyone. "Daddy Jaws, he fainted." Inside the pit, Marco's voice came out, shocking everyone. "Diamond Jaws, superhuman shining fruit. It can turn any part of the body into a transparent and pure diamond. And the part that turns into a diamond has the hardest state in the world, and it has extremely high defense and attack power, and is known as the shield of the King Kong. This kind of defense is one of the best on the sea." However, at this moment he fainted. The horrified gaze slowly shifted to Arthur. The man just waved his finger slightly. It's so tough that it makes people feel terrifying and desperate. In the deep pit, figures jumped out one after another and landed next to Whitebeard again. He looked at Arthur with anger and shock. One person actually challenged their Whitebeard pirates, and he still had the upper hand. It made them feel a little embarrassed. "Don't look at me one by one with the eyes of an enemy. I just punished you slightly. Remember that the land under your feet is mine. So it's better for your words and deeds not to be so unscrupulous." Arthur spread his hands, and his flat tone seemed to tell a sparse and ordinary thing. The white-bearded man who was standing straight finally moved and slowly raised the sewn cloud cut in his hand. This has made many people's eyes shine. Is Whitebeard going to do it? However, in the expectant gaze of everyone, Whitebeard clenched his hands into fists. "I apologize to you for what the child said, Arthur." The dignified Whitebeard even apologized to people. Everyone who saw this scene dropped their jaws in shock and rubbed their eyes in disbelief. However, what Whitebeard said next shattered their three views. "I've admired you since the time of Locks. It's just a pity that I was just a crew member of the Rocks Pirates at the time, and you didn't even pay attention to Locks, so naturally you wouldn't notice my existence. Now, we're finally standing here face to face." The soft sound seemed to come from time and space, echoing all around. The whole street seems to have fallen into a stagnation of time and space, and the pin drop can be heard. Locks, the crew, don't take it seriously. They seem to have heard something very good. In the era of Locks, is that the Locks you're talking about? An unbelievable voice came softly. Is there a second Locks in this world? A terrifying figure has come to everyone's minds. If you rule the existence of an era. However, according to Whitebeard, even if he is such a character, he is not taken seriously. Why have I never heard of it? All kinds of shocked eyes looked at Arthur, who is still calm and breezy. Whether or not the young appearance appeared in the Rocks era is a question. What's more, the thing about Arthur has only recently gotten around. How can people from two eras be mixed together? Although I couldn't believe it, such words came from Whitebeard's mouth. In fact, since he came to this world, Arthur's appearance has not changed. It's not just his appearance. It's Kiana, Rita, and they're the same. As for the reason, Arthur can only blame it on the system. Don't talk about the past. Let's go have a drink or two if you're interested. Arthur smiled and turned to leave. With Arthur and Whitebeard gone, the entire street gradually recovers. Only that huge pit proves what happened before. In a short time, several Titan mechs came to repair the pit. Shear's one hasn't come out yet, and even if it comes out in the future, it can evolve. The goal is that all members are lawyers. For example, Rita can be the lawgiver of ice, Seal the lawgiver of death, Teresa the lawgiver of constraints, Himiko the lawgiver of fire, etc. Chapter 140. It's really an amazing thing. Seeing Arthur and Whitebeard leave, Yellow Ape shook his head and turned to walk in the direction of the port, while taking out a phone bug from his arms. Hey, Marshal Kong, I have an important piece of information to report to you. That's how it goes. Just as the island was gradually returning to normal order, Arthur and Whitebeard came to the conference hall. The two sat opposite each other, and the others sat on either side. Rita didn't show much when they arrived, but the Whitebeard crew members on the other side had some faint emotions. Come to think of it, the taste of being defeated is not so pleasant after all. I'm sure everyone is a little tired, so let's take a break with a glass of wine. With a wave of his hand, large bowl-like wine glasses appeared in front of Whitebeard and all of them. Then, Arthur took out another jar of wine, lifted the lid directly, and poured it down on the table. Don't. The moment you lift the lid, you already know what kind of wine it is with the familiar aroma. But seeing Arthur fall directly to the table like this, Whitebeard was not only a little out of shape. However, just as he raised his hand to stop it, he found that the poured wine did not fall on the table. Instead, they split into strands and crossed an arc in midair and fell into the large bowl in front of them. Don't be surprised, it's just a little bit of space and gravity. Arthur has a variety of abilities, and he will naturally use them when he is free. Sometimes I'm really curious, what kind of abilities do you have? Whitebeard raised his hand and let out a decadent sigh. I vaguely remember the abilities that Arthur once showed. It was ice at first, but now it's gravity. If a person has multiple abilities, Whitebeard will not believe it. After all, the devil fruit can only eat one. I've got amazing abilities, but that's not the point. Arthur shook his head, not wanting to say anything more about his abilities. What are you here for? Arthur looked at the Whitebeard in front of him. This possibility is still very high. No. In fact, the original purpose was just to buy some wine. Nowadays, Doflamingo is already managing the affairs of the island, and all the exits are made on this island. It will probably take a while for his belongings to spread all over the sea. I wanted to compete with you, but I don't need it anymore. Whitebeard shook his head, picked up the wine bowl in front of him, and took a sip. Faced with gravity that can crush molecules, Whitebeard has also reached its limit. If it weren't for the blessing of the armed color, I'm afraid it would be ugly. It's great if you don't fight, but it's actually quite tiring to fight. Arthur's words made the corners of Marco's mouth twitch. From the beginning to the end, you just seem to be waving your hand. Are you still tired? Everyone is an old friend, so I'll sell you the wine you need at a 20% discount. Arthur said very generously. Thank you in advance. Whitebeard is not polite, and he buys it at a price of 20% off, and he can buy a few more jars. Then the two chatted with each other a little more, and slowly they talked about the Roger pirates. You say Roger, we fought a few times on the sea. Not only Roger himself, but also his companions are all very strong. Roger is a very ambitious guy, and that can be felt in the fight against him. It's a worthy opponent, Whitebeard said, his eyes shining with remembrance. Looks like you have a high opinion of Roger. Arthur smiled, his eyes shining with interest. No matter how strong Roger is, there's no way to compare with you. At this, Whitebeard sighed again. When you leave this island, you must go to Roger and have a good fight. Otherwise, you really feel weak and pitiful. Standing in front of Arthur, even the proud Whitebeard had to bow his proud head. I'm sure Roger will be excited to meet an opponent of equal weight. Arthur said, flipping his right hand, and a wooden box appeared in his palm. This is a gift from our acquaintance. With a gentle push, he pushed the wooden box in front of Whitebeard. Whitebeard opened the wooden box, and there was a cylindrical item that emitted a fragrance lying quietly, like a pill. The power of the shock fruit is very strong, and it is very domineering. Every time you use the power of the shock fruit, its reaction force will be exerted on your body. In the long run, it will form a dark disease. You may not notice it for a short time, but slowly your body will get worse and worse. Whitebeard was a little surprised to hear what Arthur said. You even know about this kind of thing. He shook his head incredulously and muttered, I really don't know if there's anything else in this world that you don't know. Every time the power of the shock fruit is used, it does leave a countershock force in the body, and such a countershock force is difficult to remove. But Whitebeard didn't think it was anything, because the force of the shock was quite weak, and it couldn't make any impact on him at the moment. But listening to Arthur's meaning, it will have an indelible effect on his body in the future. Take it with confidence. This is given to you for free, no money. When your body is about to be unable to bear it in the future, take one and the medicine will cure the disease. Seeing Whitebeard's hesitant look, Arthur waved his hand absently. Thank you very much. Whitebeard reclosed the box and carefully placed it in his arms. He knew that the contents of the box were extremely precious. I didn't say any words of thanks, but I kept them in my heart. After that, the two of them chatted for a while, and Whitebeard offered to take his leave. Captain, it feels like a loss to give someone such a valuable thing. Looking at the back of Whitebeard and their departure, Kiana pursed her lips. Mainly for Whitebeard, I still appreciate it, although it is very precious, but it is harmless for me. Just think of it as an acquaintance. Arthur said with a sigh in his voice. Yes, captains are always so generous to outsiders. They don't seem to have given us any gifts yet. As soon as the words fell, all eyes came over. Ahem, I've actually prepared a gift for you. The resentful gaze made Arthur cough lightly, pretending to be calm. Immediately, it was overwhelmed by a wave of waves. Chapter 141, Headquarters of the Navy. An emergency meeting was reconvened. That's how it happened. The Whitebeard pirates were all suppressed by Arthur alone, but the expected battle did not come, but was invited. After listening to the content of the Yellow Apes report, everyone looked at each other a little. Whitebeard pirates, are they going to unite with the Arthur pirates? This is also the one thing that everyone is most worried about. With the current strength of the Arthur pirates, their navy will naturally not be easily provoked. But this does not mean that they are willing to see the strength of the Arthur pirates grow. According to the latest information, the Whitebeard pirates left the island unharmed and did not notice anything unusual. One by one, the reports made the Steel Bones frown slightly. Arrange for people to keep a close watch on the island and report any news immediately. Yes. After the Steel Skeleton gave the order, someone immediately went to arrange it. Arthur's pirates, you must not make any of it. Steel Bones sighed as he spoke, full of helplessness. Sometimes I have thought more than once that if we can get the Arthur pirates to establish a good relationship with their navy, that's really a complete peace of mind. But Steelbone also understands how unrealistic such an idea is. Wait a minute. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration flashed in my mind. Your Majesty, the Seven Martial Seas, this is a great opportunity. As for letting Arthur join the Seven Martial Seas of His Majesty, this kind of thing will not be extravagant, but as long as someone related joins, the inspiration that flashed through his mind grew bigger and bigger, and the eyes of the Steel Bones gradually brightened. And at the same time, on Arthur's island, in the space of almost a month, everything on the island is on track. Arthur felt that he no longer had the need to preside over the big things on the island. In the living room of the private manor, Arthur turned off the system interface in front of him. There are still 3 character fragments left to allow Seal to be promoted to SSS rank. I'm afraid it only needs 1 supply to suffice, and it won't take long. After checking the situation on the island, Arthur stood up and spoke softly to everyone in the living room. How about we go to sea again? In the middle of the huge living room, Rita and the others were all dressed in dance dresses and practicing their dances. I don't know when they came to such an interest. As Arthur's words fell, everyone's movements came to an abrupt halt. Kiana paused for a moment in a standalone posture of the golden rooster and then staggered back to her feet. Captain, did you just say we're leaving this island? Kiana blinked, reconfirmed. Yes. Arthur nodded and continued. If you don't want to— No, we're too willing, Captain. Kiana immediately jumped up and hugged Arthur fiercely. During this time, they were indeed a little tired of staying on the island. Otherwise, how could Kiana obediently practice dancing there? No matter where the captain goes, Seal will be with him. Seal walked briskly to Arthur's side, her blue eyes as clear as the sea. It complements the blue dress on her body, and it is beautiful. Well, I know, come and give a hug. Arthur gently hugged Seal's petite body. After this period of time, Sheer also slowly recovered from her shyness at the beginning. Although I don't dare to share a bed with everyone, it doesn't hurt to be a little intimate in front of people. At most, the white cheeks become red. Captain, do you have a purpose this time? Rita asked softly. Planning ahead has always been her way of doing things. If nothing else, I like to go to the sky and see it. Arthur looked up and smiled as he spoke. Although the island now creates hundreds of millions of dollars of wealth for him every day, who would be afraid of more money, especially hard currency like gold? Wouldn't it be more wonderful to make a palace out of gold with a little corruption? Heavenly. May looked up a little puzzled. I was a little confused, but I didn't ask anything. As long as you follow in the captain's footsteps, there must be no problem. Bronya, before we leave, you and AI-chan will check all the systems of the entire island so that nothing happens when we leave. Okay, Captain. Bronya will start checking it at once. Bronya said as she grabbed her collar and waved it upward, throwing away some cumbersome dresses on her body and starting to connect with AI-chan. You wait here for me for a while, and I'll go to the island to say hello to the others. Since you're leaving the island, you naturally have to inform Doflamingo and Hawkeye. What? You're leaving? When the two were called together and told him what he was trying to do, Doflamingo suddenly rose from his seat. What's wrong? Now that everything on the island is on track, even if I leave, it is very reassuring to have you watching me. After this time of getting along, Arthur still trusts Doflamingo Arthur very much. But if you leave, Doflamingo's brow furrowed, as if there was something unspeakable. Anything to say, so babbling, doesn't look like your character at all. Arthur was a little surprised by Doflamingo's expression. Actually, I've gotten some gossip, but it's not too accurate, so I didn't tell you. Doflamingo exhaled softly, his tone calming back, and continued softly. The island's trade exports are increasing and are already a serious threat to the interests of other places. And there are rumors that the world government seems to have made some moves. You are in charge, and there is no need to be afraid of anything and everything. But if you leave, Doflamingo's meaning is already obvious. If someone took advantage of Arthur's departure from the island to make a small move, he was afraid that he would not be able to handle it. There is no wind and no waves. Since there's news, I am afraid there are some movements. A smile slowly curled into Arthur's mouth. Doflamingo, what I valued was your ambition. During my time away from the island, I didn't have to worry about doing things. If someone really wants to do something, I can't ask for it. Hearing this, Arthur's determination to leave would not change, and Doflamingo could only nod. Mihawk, I know what you've been doing on this island. Arthur's gaze turned to the side of Hawkeye. Of course, you deserve praise for your determination to overcome me, but the road has to be taken step by step. Defeat the few people who have become famous on the sea, and then challenge me. I'll be waiting for you all the time. Arthur patted Hawkeye on the shoulder as he spoke and turned to leave. Back inside the manor, everyone was ready. Let's go. Hyperion turned into a streamer and rushed into the sky. Target, empty island. The first 2 chapters on gravity have been revised. Wipe sweat. Chapter 142, what did you say? The Arthur pirates left the island. Listening to the report in the phone bug, Steelbone's brow furrowed tightly. He had expected Arthur to stay on the island all the time, but he didn't expect to leave so soon. Where have you been now? Marshal Kong, I should go to heaven. With some uncertainty in his tone, he continued. In addition to this, Hawkeye Mihawk also left the island by boat. What Arthur said made Mihawk agree. The road is taken step by step, and the mountains are climbed one after the other. I also want to continue to travel to the sea and hone myself. To heaven. As for Mihawk's whereabouts, Cyborg didn't care. Okay, I see. Continue to lurk in the island, and don't let go of any trouble. Cyborg pondered for a moment and nodded. Well, Marshal Kong, we're a little strapped for money here. The voice coming from a phone bug became a little cautious. Millions of Bailey's expenses every month. You tell me that the budget is a little tight. Speaking of funds, Steele's tone instantly became serious. What do you need such an overhead for a regular late mission? The cost is already very large, and it is not enough. On this island, we've had a bare minimum, but monthly accommodation alone costs more than half. In order to be able to get the first news, they can't leave the island either. In this way, millions of expenses are naturally not enough. I'll give you an additional 500,000 to save some flowers. For these, the Steele bones naturally understood, but the words he said seemed to be squeezed out of his teeth. Yes, thank you, Marshal Sora. Hung up the phone bug and sighed a little tiredly. Go to heaven. If you go to heaven, then it doesn't matter what happens to our Navy. There was a feeling of relief in his mouth. At the same time, in the high altitude, Hyperion flew slowly forward. AI-chan, still haven't you found a similar island? Arthur did not know the location of the Sky Island, but believed that Hyperion's searchability would soon find it. I'm trying to find it, but I'm afraid it's not something that can be found in a short period of time. Love clothes are also very direct. In the middle of nowhere, looking for an island is like looking for a needle in a haystack. It's okay, look for it slowly. It's still a good feeling to fly in the sky. Turn on Panorama Virtual. Everything around them gradually became transparent, making it seem as if Arthur and the others were walking in the air. The main thing is that you can only see the outside from the inside, and you can't see the inside from the outside. Why don't you have a little more wind howling? Ai said, slowly feeling a breeze coming towards her. Can be done like this? Arthur had a hint of surprise in his tone. Of course, AI-chan can do anything. There was a smug look in Ai's tone. Yes, the all-powerful AI-chan can't even find an island right now. I'll find it for you right away. Ai is no longer talking, and it looks like she really has to start using all her strength. The scenery in the sky is so beautiful, and the clouds are shrouded in mist. Do you think that cloud looks like a whole sheep? Kiana looked at the white clouds in the sky and suddenly pointed to one of them excitedly. Looks like tonight's dinner has been confirmed. A smile tugged at the corner of Rita's mouth. The clouds that change back and forth also attract the attention of others, scattered around, enjoying the beauty of the dusk. Arthur's gaze swept over one by one and finally landed on Mei E. The position he stood in a relatively remote position compared to the others, standing tall and straight, with an indescribable tenderness in his eyes. What's wrong, Mei E? Are you standing here alone, enjoying the silence? Feeling the familiar embrace surrounding her, the corners of Mei's calm mouth hooked up a smile. He was about to turn around, but was stopped by Arthur. Don't move, that's fine. The voice in her ears made Mei nod and look ahead. It's just that I haven't been quietly waiting for a long time, and I feel a little nostalgic. Looking at the scenery whizzing in front of her, Mei's gaze changed slightly. Captain, this is in the lounge. Can you control it a little? Mei bit her lip and whispered, it's not something that my brain can control. There was some grievance in Arthur's tone. And Mei is so charming, it's all your fault. What? Captain, don't put the blame on someone else. Mei muttered a little dissatisfied. The clothes Mei E is wearing today are really beautiful. What captain should you? Mei E's eyes widened slowly. Anyway, where did Mei and the captain go? Kiana suddenly noticed that Arthur and Mei were not around, and couldn't help but glance around. What are you doing against the wall? Immediately, Kiana noticed that Mei Yi's hands had become transparent, and the walls of Hyperion, with her head down, seemed to be looking at something. Hearing Kiana's voice, Mei quickly raised her head and took 2 deep breaths, trying to calm her tone as much as possible. No, it's okay, Kiana. You're standing there obediently. Mei bit her lip tightly after speaking, revealing a forced smile. Oh, Kiana nodded a little inexplicably, her gaze sweeping around again. Strange, where did the captain go? Did he go back to his room to sleep? Kiana muttered to herself, then took a step. That's another use for holographic projections. At a certain distance, It is possible to use surrounding items to form a visual deception. So Arthur, who is standing behind Mei Yi, makes perfect use of this effect. As long as you don't look in a straight line, you can't spot Arthur at all. Captain, Kiana is coming. The soft voice with some nervousness made Arthur smile. At that moment, the power was much greater than usual. The slightest change reflected Mei's mood at the moment, giving Arthur the idea of wanting to play a prank. But then he forcibly pressed down. Captain, where are you? Kiana turned slowly, getting closer and closer to Mei's direction. Captain, Mei was extremely nervous at this moment. The muscles of her whole body were a little tense, and she slowly held the hand holding the wall. The twin forces of the outside and the inside pounded her brain. Just as Kiana was about to take 2 more steps and get closer, Mei's heart instantly rose to her throat. Like a series of golden hoops tightly wound and tighter, Arthur couldn't help but gasp. Suddenly, Kiana turned and walked in other directions. The crisis was lifted, and the heart that was hanging high fell all at once. Burst! The levees were struggling to withstand the impact of the sea, but the sky was full of winds, lightning and thunder, and heavy downpours. The fragile levee could no longer be sustained, and it collapsed for thousands of miles. What's the sound? Although it was quick and short, it attracted everyone's attention. One by one, the puzzled eyes fell on Mei. Chapter 143, Mei, what's wrong with you? Although the voice just now was very soft, it stopped abruptly as soon as it appeared. But in such a quiet environment, it was like thunder on the ground. Kiana's body, which had turned her head, turned back again. And Bronya and Seer, who were scattered all over the place, also cast curious glances. Rita looked at Mei's somewhat flustered and reddened look, and her beautiful eyes carried the wisdom of seeing through everything. Captain, it's all your fault. Seeing everyone's gaze and Kiana's footsteps approaching, Mei felt hot on her cheeks. If you find out his embarrassment at the moment, you will definitely be laughed at for a long time. Thinking of this, Mei not only glared at Arthur fiercely. That's because your endurance is not enough. Mei, it seems that there is still a lack of exercise. This captain will urge you well in the future, but don't be lazy. Let's talk about it later. Let's help Mei get through this pass first. The high level of tension makes Mei have no strength in her whole body at the moment, and she can't clean it up if she wants to. The scenery is so great now, I can't help but want to take pictures to commemorate it. Seeing that Arthur was still in the mood to tease her at this time, Mei was about to cry in a hurry. The ship, long. Okay, leave it to me. Seeing that Mei was really about to be bullied by him and cried, Arthur finally stopped joking, coughed lightly, took a step back, and appeared in front of Kiana. Captain, where did you come from? Seeing as if Arthur had appeared out of thin air, Kiana blinked her big eyes, full of doubt. What do you mean by popping up? Kiana, it's really rude at all. Arthur rolled his eyes and strode in front of Kiana. I will punish you for this. What? Before Kiana could react, she saw a big face gradually approaching. After more than 10 seconds, the somewhat confused vision gradually regained clarity. Captain, why are you so enthusiastic today? Kiana put her hands on her cheeks and writhed a little embarrassed. Don't you like it? Also, it's not. Was interrupted by Arthur like this, and even Kiana forgot the original purpose. Then let's do it again. Arthur blinked, but Kiana saw Rita and the others coming over, and quickly took a step back. Don't. The slightly pursed mouth is as tempting as a cherry. At this time, Mei, who was hiding on the side, also walked out. The whole body is back to normal, at least not from the outside. Mei, what just happened? Seeing Mei, Kiana remembered the purpose of her coming. I was bitten by a bug. After saying that, he glared at Arthur again. There's really no way to take their captain in broad daylight, still in this lounge. But I have to say that this feeling is even more intense. As soon as such an idea came out, Mei's heart couldn't help but tremble. What? Do we have bugs here? Hearing Mei's explanation, Kiana's eyes widened instantly. His eyes scanned back and forth on the ground, as if he was looking for the bugs that Mei had said. Don't worry, Kiana, I've got rid of the bugs. Oh, I see. The captain is really powerful. Kiana nodded in admiration and saw Mei, who was a little anxious and uneasy on the side. Mei, you're weird today. Are you feeling unwell? Mei's brows furrowed slightly. Her legs were tightly together, and the muscles in her whole body seemed to be a little tense. This is the first time Kiana has seen such a situation. But you might want to go to the bathroom. Mei whispered, her face already flushed. After all, it was just a sloppy treatment, just a surface to clean up. I've been standing for a long time now, and it's slowly flowing out little by little. I'm afraid it won't be long before it is discovered. But running away in a panic will inevitably arouse suspicion, so I can only stand here by force. As I felt it ticking down, time seemed to slow down a lot. So you just went to the bathroom. Do you need Kiana to accompany you? Kiana said, and patted Mei on the back. This made Mei's face change, and she could no longer stay where she was. I'll be right back. After hurriedly leaving a sentence, he turned around and left in stride. And when Kiana was about to follow, Arthur held it down with both hands. Captain, did you drown in water when you killed the bugs just now? There's a lot left here. But there were no bugs in there, as the captain had mentioned. Just before Mei turned around and took 2 steps, Rita's words made her body instantly stiffen in place. Oops, the floor is completely untidy. Mei held her head in annoyance. In the heart, a set of combination punches hit Arthur. Now the matter is about to be revealed. Ahem, this is what I accidentally spilled on the ground when I drank water earlier. Looking at Rita's smiling face, Arthur was sure she definitely meant it. I'm really afraid that the world will not be chaotic. Captain, according to Bronia's analysis, this, knowing and saying are 2 different things, Bronia. At this moment, Arthur blocked Bronia's mouth with an arrow. This is water, Bronia. Looking at Arthur's serious face, Bronia nodded. Yes, Captain, this is water. Bronia nodded earnestly. Getting the answer he wanted, Arthur nodded in satisfaction, snapped his fingers, and a small black hole appeared above him. Suck in all the traces. Seeing this scene, Mei was really relieved. Her stiff body resumed her actions, and she never stayed anymore and disappeared in front of everyone. In the bathroom, the water mist was filled, and Mei picked up the sprinkler head and cleaned it up. Sailed in the sky for 2 days. During this time, all the fragments of Seer's character were gathered in one resupply. SSS class, Nightmare Star Abyss. Trust each other, intimacy, and the power they exert has once again been raised to a higher level. And at the same time, Arthur also got the ability corresponding to it, creation and withering, destruction and rebirth. Maybe it's double happiness, and at this time, Ai's voice of surprise came out. Captain everyone, after AI-chan's unremitting efforts and hard work, we have finally found the island suspended in mid-air. While Ai spoke, a picture appeared on the big screen in front of her. Surrounded by white clouds, an island is suspended in it. And this is really Arthur's departure destination, Sky Island, an island with a lot of gold buried on it. The next one should be Fuhua. Chapter 144 Sky Island is located on the White Sea, 10,000 meters above the White Sea. Hyperion sailed above the skies in stealth. I didn't expect an island to be suspended in mid-air. Looking at the island below, everyone looked at it with amazement. Captain, how did this island hang in mid-air? Rita was also quite interested in this matter. Nature's magic. To be honest, Arthur didn't know either and could only blame it on nature's work. How about AI-chan? Have you detected the location of the gold? This time, Arthur's actions wanted to be a little more hidden. Come quietly, go quietly. Exploring. AI's voice relayed from the communicator. But Captain, isn't there a little interest in the 2 groups of men and horses fighting on this island from time to time? Ai said that pictures appeared in front of him. There's a clear difference between the warring people on both sides. The clothes on the body can be clearly distinguished. To be honest, there's no interest. If they're willing to fight, let them play. Arthur's body sank deep into the couch. 400 years ago, Appiato in the Air Sea was originally located as part of the island of Aya, Qinghai, and was carried by the ocean current to the Bai Sea 400 years ago. 400 years ago, the North Sea navigator Vin Brandt Rolando visited Gaia when Gaia was still intact. Upon his return, Norland claimed to have discovered Sandora, the land of gold. When Norland led the king to Gaia again, the entire island was cut off and the land of gold was gone. Norland was executed for deception, and he refused to deny the existence of the land of gold until his death. After being carried by the currents to the White Sea, Appiato was considered a sacred place by the people of the Sky Island, as it was the only island in the sea that had soil. The Sandias, descendants of the original inhabitants of Gaia Island, have waged a 400-year war against the Sky Islanders in order to reclaim their home and ring the golden bell again. And for hundreds of years, the fighting has been breaking out, and now they see only the tip of history. I feel like these people are so weak. Seeing the two groups of people fighting each other seemed to Kiana like children fighting. Hee, of course, Kiana, it's not an exaggeration to call your strength a god on this empty island. With the power to control space, for some people, it is indeed like a god. Really? I didn't expect Miss Ben to be so powerful. Hee. Hearing Arthur's words, Kiana smirked. If you want to be a god here, you can do that. No, it's better to be with the captain. Hearing Arthur's words, Kiana shook her head again and again, hugged Arthur, and tilted her head with a faint smile on her face. Captain, there's been a trace of gold. At this moment, Ai's voice came from the communicator. Very well. Land carefully. The invisible Hyperion slowly spiraled down in midair and finally landed safely on the ground. Through the screen in front of you, you can see that there is a place that looks like a monument outside. Captain, the air pressure outside is quite different from the inside of Hyperion. Please be careful. Just as Arthur was about to walk out of the hatch, Ai's voice rang out appropriately. Well, I know. Arthur nodded. This is at an altitude of 10,000 meters, and there is a big difference between the natural and normal air pressure. Be careful, especially you, Kiana. Don't be reckless at first. Arthur commanded the people around him. Well, why am I especially? Kiana pointed at herself, her face full of displeasure. Gone. The hatch opened, and Arthur walked out first. Because of the mental preparation in advance, such a small difference in air pressure can be said to be negligible for Arthur. At present, Arthur's physique is very strong. If it weren't strong, it wouldn't make Rita so energetic and delicate every day. A poof, an exclamation, followed by the sound of falling to the ground. This made Arthur turn his head speechlessly. Kiana, didn't you tell you just now? Be careful. Why did you fall so quickly? For Kiana's reckless character, Arthur felt hopeless. It feels... breathe. It's so difficult. Kiana struggled to her feet from the ground, her little face wrinkled. It's really thin air. Being in such an environment for a while, even Rita's face couldn't help but change a little. It's painful. Seal, how are you feeling? Seeing Seal with her right hand on her chest, looking like she was about to suffocate, Arthur rushed over with an arrow and reached out to hold her smaller body. It's a lot better, Captain, but it's a little uncomfortable at first. Seal looked up and smiled reluctantly at Arthur. Captain, you are biased. This treatment gap is too big. Seeing Arthur shushing at Kiana's mouth immediately pouted and hung up an oil bottle. Obviously, she didn't come over to comfort her when she fell just now. It's true, except for a little discomfort at first, it's much better now. May raised her right hand and clenched her fist. The influence of external factors has become less and less, and it is believed that it will be restored in a few minutes. Captain, Sayur is all right. Standing up again, Seal nodded at Arthur, signaling that there was no need to worry. Well, it's fine. Bronya, how are you feeling? Seeing that Seal's face returned to normal, Arthur's eyes looked at Bronya on the side. Thank you, Captain, for your concern. Bronya is fine. Bronya shook her head slightly, signaling that she was okay. Hey, you must not ignore me. Seeing that Arthur ignored his words, Kiana expressed her anger. Not only Kiana is angry, but even her second personality is angry. It is unforgivable that anyone should ignore what she said. In a fit of rage, the space around him fluctuated slightly, and this fluctuation made everyone's eyes instantly focused. Kiana, calm down. Seeing the changes around Kiana, Arthur knew what was going to happen next. Kiana's whole body was suddenly enveloped in a cloud of light. Immediately, The long legs of 1.8 meters stepped out of the light. One step out, and he came to Arthur. The light cleared, and Kiana, who had become the lawgiver of the void, pinched Arthur's chin with her right hand. The two looked at each other. Apologies. Faint words came out of Kiana's mouth, and her golden eyes gleamed dangerously. It's as if something terrible would happen to Arthur if he didn't do it. I'm sorry. Quickly, Lisawa's response made Kiana not only slightly stunned. Chapter 145 Within a Ruin. Huberle quietly stepped aside. Rita, May, Bronya, Seal, and Bella looked in the same direction. Arthur was half-seated on a large rock, and across from him, Kiana had taken the form of the lawgiver of the void in an extremely indecent posture. Take a big step forward with your right leg raised, lean forward, and lift Arthur's shin with your right hand, so that the two pairs of eyes are only 2 fingers apart, watching closely. The golden eyes were churning with anger, looking at the surprised gaze in front of them. Apologies. Cold words came out of Kiana's mouth. If you use this posture and the roles are reversed, it will definitely be the plot of the domineering president and Cinderella. But alas, now Arthur looks like he is suffering. I'm sorry. Hearing Kiana's words, Arthur said immediately without much hesitation. The tone was decisive and clean, which made Kiana in front of her slightly stunned. This made Rita, who was standing on the sidelines, smile slightly. Their captain has also matured. I've already apologized. Can you get up? Looking at Kiana, who was still a little stunned, Arthur reached out and tugged at her arm. Don't think I'll forgive you if I apologize. The price of ignoring me needs to be repaid with the rest of your life. Kiana snorted coldly, slowly stood up, clasped her hands on her chest, and slowly levitated 3 inches from the ground. Yes, I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Arthur stood up and patted the dust off his body. So what's next? Just as Arthur was about to get down to business, Kiana, next to him, glanced around. The breath of destruction is really nostalgic, he muttered to himself, and his body turned into a streamer of light and flew into the distance. Kiana, where are you going? May shouted. It's okay, May. Just let her go out and have fun alone. Arthur smiled and shook his head. The second personality finally came out for a trip, and I guess I want to find something to do. There's a moment of silence for the people on the empty island in his heart, and then he said, AI-chan, explore where the gold is, and we're going to take them with us in one pack. Okay, Captain. AI-chan's detection function is activated. Inside the communicator on his arm, a light blue light curtain popped up. Gradually, small yellow dots appeared on the screen. Let's go. Arthur embarks on a journey to find gold, while Kiana on the other side also encounters the first wave of opponents. The weapons used by the original inhabitants of the Sky Island to fight against the Sandians are the shells, a specialty of the Sky Island. Various shellfish can exert different abilities. For example, the wind shell can blow a strong wind, the flame shell can burst into flames, and the shock shell can send out a shock wave. And shellfish can also be used in combination to play more effects. It's really an uninteresting fight. Kiana hovered above and watched the battle below. A bored look in her eyes. Flick your fingers. Bang, bang. The two people below who were fighting fiercely suddenly felt a powerful force acting on them. The body involuntarily flew upside down, and it slammed into the tree before stopping. What happened? The two men struggled to get up from the ground, and the bones in their bodies felt as if they were about to fall apart. It's like a close-range attack from a platoon shell. Looked at each other in disbelief and suddenly was stunned at the same time. The other party's experience was similar, and there was no platoon on his hand. So who defeated them? Such doubts flashed through his mind, and a cold voice came down from above. Human, who is the ruler of this island? Since she is here, there must be no one with a higher status than her. Except, of course, Arthur, who couldn't beat her. The ruler is, of course, our god, Lord Gonfor. The man from Angel Island said proudly. God, it's really funny. A smile tugged at the corners of Kiana's mouth, and her eyes scanned her surroundings as if she had determined a target, fixed in a certain direction. Is the god you speak of there? The body turned into a streamer of light and disappeared in an instant. Did she go to Mistress Gone 4? The original inhabitants of Angel Island only reacted at this time. Their faces changed, and they could no longer care about the Sandians on the opposite side, and quickly manipulated the cloud shells under their feet to rush out. Mistress Gone 4 must be told as soon as possible that outsiders have entered. The Sandian stood stunned until there was no one in front of him. On the other side, Arthur and the others were able to find gold that had not yet been mined. The gold just stayed there quietly, like a girl waiting to be picked by her sweetheart. Faced with such a scenario, Arthur naturally accepted it unceremoniously. Reaching out and brushing it gently, pieces of gold disappeared, and the wealth in the system store is also increasing rapidly. Captain, look, it's really spectacular. May's voice came from a distance, and Arthur turned and walked over. A huge golden bell stands in front of you. The years have left no trace on it. An alluring glow all over the body. Captain, you can't bear to destroy such a delicate golden bell. Look at the color. How beautiful the yellow is. Perhaps in addition to diamonds, gold is also very attractive to women. It was the first time Arthur had seen Rita have such a side. Well, if you like, keep it and put it on our island to tell the time. Arthur smiled and reached over the face of the golden bell. A shocking force was transmitted from inside the bell to the outside. Feel like that? Arthur's gaze fell to the top of the steps. There is a text carved on the steps, which looks like it has just been carved up. Roger, have you already been to Sky Island? The golden bell contains a weapon named Poseidon, and the text below directs the history of the Sky Island to Ralph Drew. The last time I met Roger on Fishman Island, I was probably just coming down from the Sky Island. It is not known where Roger has been. I'm afraid that even if you don't conquer the Great Route, it's going to be soon. With a wave of his right hand, Arthur received the huge golden bell in front of him into the system warehouse. Afterwards, continue to explore the surroundings and get your hands on the gold. In the blink of an eye, half a day passed. However, at this moment, a violent spatial fluctuation caused Arthur to sigh. This Kiana, is it going to destroy the entire Sky Island with such a big burst of power? Let's go. Let's go see Kiana. We should have had enough of it now. Chapter 146, above a vast clearing. This is the largest battlefield between the natives of the Sky Island and the Sandians. As the current ruler of the Sky Island, Gone 4 is also here. For nearly 500 years, the Sandians have not been able to reclaim their land, and this is still the case today. The whole situation of the war, the Sandians were losing and retreating, and a real rout was close at hand. The combat power of the two sides is comparable, but the difference in numbers is absolutely hard. Compared to the Sandians, the original inhabitants of the Sky Island have an absolute numerical advantage. Gone 4 doesn't look that old now, standing on his mount and looking at the big picture. Gaia Island, washed up by an upwelling current 500 years ago, has long been regarded as a sacred place by the people of Sky Island because it is the only land on Sky Island. If you really have to count it, the people of Sky Island are the real robbers. Drove the people of the island away and took the land for himself. The Sandians are simply trying to reclaim their homeland. With the current situation, it won't be long before this war ends. Looking at the people fighting below, Gone 4 sighed softly. He didn't want to see such a fight. But as the ruler of the Sky Island, everything must be done for the sake of his people. As during his tenure, he only drove the Sandians away. What's that? Suddenly, a streamer of light in the distance gradually approached, giving a look of doubt in Gone 4's eyes. Human, the sky is not where you should be. As soon as the faint voice came to my ears, I felt a strong pressure coming from above, and my body fell uncontrollably. Naturally, Gone 4's dynamics attract the attention of many. As long as the ruler of the Sky Island is defeated, the Sandians will naturally achieve the final victory. But after countless battles, even his body could not be brought close. However, just today I saw that Gone 4, who was known as a god, fell from the sky like a meteor. This made everyone on the battlefield below not only stunned for a moment. I'm not mistaken. That Gone 4 actually fell out of the sky. Who is she? Is it our reinforcements? In an instant, the Sandians became excited, and their fighting spirit was high. Shut up. A swarm of ants. The right arm stretched forward, and a crisp snap of fingers echoed in midair. Behind Kiana, black holes emerged one by one, gradually spreading outward, covering the entire sky. The bright sunlight was obscured by the black hole, and the shadows gradually spread over the earth, hanging over everyone's faces. "Oh my God, what is this?" Ominous breath. At this moment, the Aborigines of Angel Island and the Sandians looked up at the sky with wide eyes at the same time. The breath that came out of the black hole made them feel fear. Now, feel the true power of God. In the sky, inside the black hole, countless energies poured down. Boom, boom. Streams of energy bombarded the earth, and huge explosions rang out one after another, instantly engulfs everyone below. In the distance, Arthur and the others arrived just in time to see the scene. How did these people mess with Kiana? May looked at Kiana above, and the corners of her mouth twitched unnaturally. Maybe it's because the anger in my heart can't be vented on some people, so I let these people become scapegoats. Rita looked at Arthur with an inexplicable smile. Sister Kiana is amazing. Of course, the queen is the best. Hearing Seal compliment Kiana, Bella looked up proudly. Kiana, that's almost enough. If you keep going, these people will be wiped out by you. Seeing that the pouring energy still had no intention of stopping, Arthur had to speak. After all, I've obtained so much gold on the empty island, and I feel a little embarrassed to kill all the people on the island. Humph. Kiana snorted coldly, looking reluctant, but the movements of her subordinates stopped. The black hole behind it gradually shrunk and finally disappeared into the sky. The sun shone on the earth again, so that those who still had a breath of breath never felt so warm. It's as if the people of this island call you a god. Kiana's body slowly levitated and landed in front of Gon 4, struggling to her feet, her golden pupils tinged with teasing. It's just an honorific title. At this time, the armor on Gon 4's body was in tatters, and the impact of the explosion had severely injured him. You can't use this honorific title anymore in the future, do you understand? High up and commanding, Gon 4 nodded at once. In the face of such a powerful existence that can easily destroy them, there is no right to refuse. Good. Kiana nodded in satisfaction and slowly floated back to Arthur. You're a little too much if it's a prank. Glanced at the desolation of the battlefield in front of him. Kiana's wave of map cannons was almost 9 out of 9. After this loss, I am afraid that neither the Sandians nor the people of the Sky Island will be able to conduct a second engagement in a short time. Hearing Arthur's words, Gon 4 really wanted to cry without tears. Mischief? They really can't afford to play a prank. Pay attention to the way you speak. Facing Arthur, Kiana turned her head aside. Hey, you're kicking your nose in the face, aren't you? If you have the ability, don't run. I'll clean you up in a while. Seeing a few people next to him covering their mouths and chuckling, Arthur said viciously to the back of Kiana's head, Well, I'm sorry. It has had some impact on your fight. Don't worry. If you want to fight, you can continue. We'll leave right away. When Gon 4 heard Arthur's apologetic words, he smiled more ugly than crying. It's okay, it's all our fault. Although he has no idea where he provoked such a powerful person, it seems that obediently admitting his mistake is the clearest choice. Well, as compensation, I'll tell you one piece of news. Arthur pondered for a moment, looked at Gon 4 in front of him, and continued. In the future, there may be a powerful person who will appear on the Sky Island, and you will not be able to resist in the face of his strength. So just wait patiently, and someone will save you from fire and water. As Arthur said, the powerful man was naturally Analu. Counting the time, Analu should still be a little guy now. For Analu, Arthur didn't have much of an idea. Can the power of manipulating thunder and lightning be stronger than May's? Yes, I remember. Gunfalda nodded. The purpose of coming to Sky Island has been achieved, and Arthur naturally will not stay for long. And this time, Kiana, in the form of a lawyer, seems to have a lot of backbone, and she has no intention of running away until now. Arthur was thinking about how to punish her. Chapter 147, the island that Arthur had founded on the surface had always been managed by Doflamingo. In fact, the real manager is Ai. Most of what happens on the island will be handled by the Titans, and Doflamingo will still manage the export trade. Dover, many traces of naval activity have been found on the island today. Toribol walked in slowly through the door. The Navy did not hide its whereabouts and appeared on the island in such a generous manner. Recently, the activities of the Navy have become more and more frequent, and it seems that something is being planned. Diamante's brows were also furrowed. The Navy's unusual actions brought an unusual signal, a sense of impending storm. Leave them alone, just eyes and ears. Dofron sat in his chair, his brow furrowed, as if he was thinking about something. Dover, is there something bothering you? Has always been by Doflamingo's side, and he can naturally grasp the changes in his mind. Just yesterday, the Navy headquarters got in touch with me and said what was going on for me to join His Majesty's 7 Marshalseas. Doflamingo was still quite surprised when he heard the news. The main thing is that the person who called him was the current Admiral Steele. The power held by the 7 Marshalseas under the king is also very detailed. What about your answer? So much Dofo. Diamante and Toribol glanced at each other and at Doflamingo. Doflamingo's answer determined their future direction. If we don't realize that Arthur has joined the 7 Marshalseas of His Majesty before, it will be of great benefit to us. But now, the privilege of His Majesty's 7 Marshalseas is dispensable to us. Doflamingo shook his head. The privilege of His Majesty's 7 Marshalseas is no longer too tempting for him now. Frowning and thinking for a moment, Doflamingo raised his arm. Arthur can be reached by the communicator above. Now he hadn't replied to Cyborg and wanted to hear Arthur's opinion. On the other side, in the sky, Hyperion flew slowly. Captain, what have you been looking at since you left Sky Island? May walked over with some snacks and saw Arthur sitting on the couch looking intently at the screen in front of him. This behavior has been going on for quite some time. And in the distance, Kiana sat there alone, still maintaining the posture of a lawyer, drinking to herself. Kiana, in the form of a lawyer, also surrounded Arthur all the time, shouting one captain after another. The atmosphere in Hyperion was a little cold. Seeing the small snack brought by May E, Arthur picked one up and threw it into his mouth. I'm looking for a punishment prop, and this time I must make her completely surrender, Arthur said and glanced at Kiana faintly, the meaning of which was self-evident. Captain, you're not a child anymore. And now Kiana is just unforgiving. May shook her head speechlessly. That's exactly what happened. Seeing Arthur staring intently at the screen in front of him again, May sighed helplessly. Didi, Captain, Doflamingo has sent a request for communication. In the communicator, Ayi's words made Arthur slightly stunned. In general, Doflamingo wouldn't contact him. Since you contacted him, something very serious must have happened. And it can also be ruled out that there are major incidents on the island. If something big happens, Ayi will also tell him as soon as possible. Turning on the communicator, a light curtain ejected, revealing Doflamingo's face. What's going on? Doflamingo. Seeing Doflamingo, Arthur asked directly. Yesterday, Admiral Steelbone Kong invited me to join His Majesty's 7 Marshalseas, and I came to ask for your opinion. If we join the 7 Marshalseas of His Majesty, will it do us any good or something? Doflamingo also knew that Arthur didn't like, so he went straight to the point and explained the reason for the situation. Inviting you to join His Majesty's 7 Marshalseas? Arthur rubbed his chin with his right hand, thinking for a moment. If you want to ask me, you can join the 7 Marshalseas under the king or not. However, joining the 7 Marshalseas will bring you closer to the center of power. After all, with the privileges given by the government, it is time for the identity of the Doflamingo Draconians to come into play. Okay, I see. Doflamingo nodded, then turned off the communicator. In a room on the island, Doflamingo smiled at the corner of his mouth and took out the phone bug. Marshal Kong, after a day of reflection, I will now give you a definite reply. Join the matter of the 7 Marshalseas of His Majesty. I agreed. A faint voice echoed through the room, proving that Doflamingo was officially entering politics. That's what Arthur wanted. And within Hyperion. Captain, what do you mean by the 7 Marshalseas? Sheer touched her lips with her index finger and tilted her head slightly, with a look of doubt in her eyes. It's a department set up by a world government. Then Arthur gave a brief introduction. Oh, I see. Seal nodded as if she didn't understand. Arthur's gaze quickly swept over the goods in front of him, and when he saw one of the items, his gaze froze, and he immediately stopped what he was doing, glanced at the effect above, and a demonic smile appeared on his face, which made Sheer on the side have a frightened look on his face. Rising from the couch, Arthur came to Kiana. Don't let the captain bully the queen. Bella quickly stood in front of Kiana from the side, her hands outstretched, looking like a child. Although your loyalty is commendable, your strength cannot stop me. With a flick, Bella in front of him disappeared immediately. When it reappeared, it was already on top of the couch. Poof! Dropped. What's the matter? Looking at Arthur in front of her, Kiana still had a haughty posture. How about we play a game? Arthur flipped his right hand as he spoke, and a small bottle appeared in his hand. Boring. Kiana gave Arthur a blank look, and when she picked up the juice in front of her again, she wanted to drink it. Arthur dropped a drop into it with lightning speed. The raised hand immediately stopped in midair. Looking at Kiana's passing gaze, Arthur gave a defiant look. What? Don't you dare to drink if you put something in? Oomph. You think I'm going to be scared? Kiana's eyes narrowed slightly, and her golden eyes had a sharp gaze. Then you should drink it up. The method of agitation is 100 trials and tried and true for the current Kiana. In Arthur's gaze, he drank the juice directly from the quilt. I drank it, and it turned out that nothing happened. Kiana raised her hands to indicate that she was not doing anything at all. The only thing you can do is now. Arthur waited just a few seconds. Kiana's expression with a faint smile suddenly became a little unnatural. Do you feel the breeze blowing very strongly now? Even with the slightest movement, the friction of the clothes is particularly noticeable. Seeing Kiana's expression, Arthur knew that the effects of the medicine had taken off. What did you make me drink? Kiana's eyes were filled with anger, and a bad premonition suddenly came to her heart. It's nothing, it's just doubling your body's sensitivity. And it could be super doubled, Arthur said as he slowly approached Kiana, like a jackal approaching a weak and helpless little sheep step by step. The next time is for the two of us. Chapter 142 is currently banned, and it seems that it can't be released today. So this audit is really too grinding, and it hasn't been reviewed for half a day. This incident once again reminds us that it is best not to raise what you want to see firsthand. Chapter 148 in the Hubellian break room. Kiana slowly rose from her stool. His brow was only furrowed, and his little face was full of seriousness. The gentle breeze that blew around me cut through the skin, but there was a slight pain. If it's just one place, it's not fearful. The key is to cover the whole body. The action of standing up just now made the originally soft clothes seem to become a little tougher. How's it going? But I picked it for you, Kiana. Seeing Kiana's hand on the table slowly holding, Arthur walked over with a smile on his lips. If I run away now, I won't laugh at you, lawyer. Arthur looked at the golden eyes that were close at hand and once again used the agitation method. It's not fun to run away halfway through. Do you think you can bring me to my knees by using such a small trick? There was a sharp edge in his golden eyes. If that's all there is, of course not, but it has another effect. It's time to start counting the time. It seemed that Arthur had a confident look, and the confusion in Kiana's eyes was slowly replaced by astonishment. You, what did it do to me? An unnatural flush appeared on Kiana's fair cheeks. The strength of her body was being withdrawn at all, making her stand a little unstable. Kiana, who was aware of this scene, finally showed a trace of panic in her eyes. It's one thing to fight, but it's another thing if you can't even resist and are at the mercy of others. Nothing, just a little bit of brittleness. The two effects stack on top of each other, but they have a super double effect. Arthur's faint words made a trace of anger rise in Kiana's eyes. Despicable, to use such a despicable means. The feeling of weakness made Kiana hold the table with both hands, and her clenched fists were used to resist the rising desire in her heart. So it's a game with you. A little game to see how long your willpower can last. If you can't hold on, feel free to call me. and I'm happy to help with the requests of beautiful women." Arthur clasped his hands on his chest, looking like he was watching a play. Stop dreaming." From a change in Kiana's expression, Arthur could tell that her patience was very reluctant. "I didn't expect to be so hard-mouthed." Just as Arthur was about to say something, Kiana directly dodged into the imaginary space. Arthur took a step and disappeared in place. In the Hubellian break room, the rest of the people looked at each other. "Captain, this is—" Watching the two disappear one after the other, Sire muttered, "Sister Bronya, where did the captain and Kiana go?" Sheer, who was still a little confused, turned her head to look at Bronya next to her. Within the imaginary space, depending on the captain's time, plus the time it takes to hunt down Kiana and do some preparations, it will take about 5 hours. Based on her previous experience, Bronya quickly came to a conclusion. "I'm afraid it's more than 5 hours." Rita shook her head and continued. Looking at the captain's attitude this time, it seems that he wants to completely succumb to Kiana's second personality. It will take a long time. Although there is the aid of medicine, the consciousness of the lawyer should not be underestimated. Rita said, her eyes glinting with interest. Drugs that can increase the sensitivity of the body seem to be worth trying. "Isn't that a bit too much?" May is still a little worried. Don't worry. Kiana's body has long been familiar with the captain, and it is only—
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.